You know, we're not. No, fuck you. We're not gonna skim over that. You just jazz hands at me like that was a fucking countdown. I don't know where the fuck.
Listen, I was counting and then I realized
you can't.
I can't do this on two hands.
You're supposed to wait till it's 5 seconds. You put 2 numbers up, and then they were counting down together. So I'm like, am I getting 5 in stereo, or like, and then fucking 1 went, and then
Look, this is Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, okay? This is counting down over here, and then we count down on this finger, and then we count down over
I did not sign up to do fucking algebra this early in the goddamn morning. You got me trying to figure for X for the goddamn production countdown. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome to Morning Ritual. We're off to the fucking races. Let's do it. Hello, I'm one of your hosts who apparently can't count.
My
name's
I'm
Anita,
genuinely infuriated because the confidence you had on your face, as though I would know what the fuck was happening.
No,
like, this is the kind of shit that gets me scared about the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, God.
Anyways, who's my other host? Who you?
I'm fucking confused as who the fuck I am. Hi everybody, I'm Noah Mahide. You can find me all over the internet, or not these days because I got a full-time big boy job and I don't have time for shit. And we've got a fantastic guest with us today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. It is I, the Indoor Adventurer, also known as @Indoor What the Fuck. I am an actual player, voice actor, and apparently local crab whisperer. So that's my brand that I have going on this morning. And I am most known, if anything, for the fact that when I laugh really hard, my face goes fully red. So I'm expecting that a lot this morning.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
No, I'm gonna call myself out on this. Feel that thunder.
We gonna come back to that crab whisperer theme though, because I feel like there's truth there, and I need to get into it like crab meat in the shell.
For sure. Look, it's the scientific property that all things want to become crab. It's fine.
Yeah, customization.
Question. Exactly.
I mean, I wouldn't mind having pincers. But then again, I do like having thumbs.
I just want the little pedipalps, because that way if I get shit in my mustache, I just have these little friends that are like willing to like clean that off. It'd be great. I'd be much more willing to carry a beard.
This is making me realize how very little I understand about crabs, other than the fact that they go real good with butter.
That's very true.
I see, but they're so expensive in Chicago because we're like not near.
For sure.
You're landlocked, baby.
I mean, we're not landlocked. You know, we got a lot of lakes and they're great.
You got a pretty regular lake, like right next to you. I think that's what it's called.
It's Michigan. It's the Great.
It's the halfway okay lake.
Yeah.
I do respect the fact that we came over here and we were just like, that lake. This the Great Lake. And then, like, we decided that all these lakes were great, but some dickhead was like, yeah, but this lake, superior. Like, fuck you, dude.
Do you learn the same acronym in the States for knowing the names of the Great Lakes?
Baby, I really need you to understand how truly terrible the Chicago public school system is. I barely know where I am.
What was your acronym? And I'll tell you mine later if I remember it being different. And if I don't remember, I'm just going to say it was the same acronym.
To remember the names of the Great Lakes, you remember Holmes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior.
Yeah, you know, that was the same one that they definitely taught us in elementary
I mean,
school.
they mostly, like, we get all of them, we kind of surround all of them with Canada, so we actually learn the names of major bodies of water in our social studies classes.
You guys have the continent
the Pacific Oregon is right, or the Pacific Ocean is right there, and then everything else that way, I don't know. The Mississippi cuts it off, and I've only seen that once in my life, so like, That was one of those things.
Mississippi River is beautiful. I've driven to Missouri a few times and I have to drive over it, which is always terrifying because I'm like, well, it's not terrifying because I'm a wuss. It's terrifying because that bridge is old as fuck.
Oh yeah,
and like it was built for horses, and so the lanes are like this big, and there's only 2 of them. And it's just like, I'm fully gonna die. I can't swim, and I don't remember what to do when the water is coming up in the car.
I was traveling cross country at the time when I experienced the Mississippi River, and I ate at a brewery that had like a nice overlook to the river, and the only thing I could think of while I was enjoying a beer was just, oh yeah, I can easily see why settlers were just like, we could make it across that thing, and then it died every single time along the way. Like, I can easily see why that was the case.
You know, I'm not proud of this. I still have to do the continent song / chant in order to remember all of them. North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, Europe. I hate that it ends like that.
Just Europe.
Europe.
That's all they wanted, though, is to just be like, yes, we will disrupt everything, and we will also come last. You will remember us. No, like, if anything, my recollection of like where the countries and continents are is all based on Risk. Like the board game, like in my mind, I can see the board. So I'm just like, okay, Africa's right there. You can only go to Asia and Europe from Africa. Oh, looks like you can get to South. Okay. Like that's the only reason is the layout of board games.
That's the only reason I know where anything is in Europe is because of diplomacy. And by the way, if you have somebody in your life that you don't want in your life anymore, I highly recommend playing diplomacy with them.
Okay,
because even if you love somebody, like don't play diplomacy with anybody you love, because you will hate them by the end of it. That game breeds hate.
Yes.
Look, I am down to try any game that will breed malcontempt amongst my friends that isn't Settlers of Catan. Like, I'm so bored and tired of Settlers of Catan. I'll try a new one.
I've never played Settlers of Catan.
You're not missing much. I mean, like, when it came out, very good. And, like, as a game that, like, my family can get into, that, like, I can, like, demonstrate to my mom how game mechanics work. Settlers of Catan is great.
Settlers of Catan... Okay.
But amongst my friends where it's just like, okay, like we're playing very complex card games or we're all like fierce role players and like someone's learning a new TTRPG system every week. When you sit down, you're like, do you have sheep?
I have wood for sheep.
I will trade you 2 sheep for 1 wood. Yes, I got wood for sheep.
Wait, hold on now. Let's take that sound clip.
Look.
It's a meme for a reason.
Settlers of Catan is one of those games that people can make their personality, and that's what has made me hate it so much.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's my older brother and his wife.
Yeah, it's like Settlers of Catan does that, and the Railroad one does that. I don't remember what the Railroad one is. Yeah, that one. I haven't tried it because the amount that people like it kind of turns me off to
it. It's pretty fun. I'm depending on, like, I had one game where I just beat everyone because I was able to get the longest train because I had like the cards that I picked were like all interconnected.
No, my only experience with Ticket to Ride is again, my mom on the back of like, oh, we all had fun playing Settlers of Catan, bought me the box for Ticket to Ride. I looked at it and said, thanks, because several years prior, I can't remember who the publisher for Ticket to Ride is, but they also had released the game Small World, and Small World is super fun.
I love Small World.
Small World's a great game, but there was a publisher sale on Steam, so I picked up Ticket to Ride for like a couple bucks to play with my partner at the time, and as I was playing it, I was just like, I don't That's okay.
Days of Wonder.
Wait, hold
on. Days of Wonder. Thank you.
I have to acknowledge this comment because it's everything I want. Sam just with my horrible, evil ideas to create a highly produced game of diplomacy with a bunch of big TTRPG gaming personalities and set them all at each other's throat. And yo, that would be amazing.
If you never wanted those people to work again together ever.
No, I think it would be very telling. I think it would. Oh, it's all I want in the world now. It's just like.
Oh no, I know exactly who would win at this one. If you got all of the big TTRPG folks together, do you think Brennan Lee Mulligan would sit there at a table playing diplomacy and not just like take on all of those highly competitive traits that he has inside of himself and then not try and win? I've seen him play Survivor. He'll do anything.
But the thing is, though, like in diplomacy, if somebody knows that you're like an aggro, like I'm here to win and only to win type player, you're fucked. Like they really mean it when they call it diplomacy. You have to lie. No, see, like listen, I give you my word. I'm not going to attack. I just need you to move your country so that my army can move through to get to the next person. So, like, I'm not going to attack you while my army is there. They're just going along the route. And Brennan loses that game immediately. Brennan,
I would do anything for in the world for 5 points. Lee Mulligan.
The very same.
Yeah, Brennan loses that game. It's the person that's just like, I'm just a little baby uwu that's going to clean house in that
Erika
game.
Ishii, got it.
Or Serena Marie.
You need somebody with a terrible poker face, because that way you don't know if they're lying halfway through.
I mean, and the other thing about that game is it could go on forever. Yeah. Oh, what I would give for that.
They could. Maybe he convinces them that they need them. Who knows? We need to find out.
Oh, that's a charity stream right there. That is.
Look, we pitch it. I'm sure we get at least like 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh God. There are some things I have to say about this idea that I will only say offline. So. Anyway, so Endor.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the space, my guy? Like we were talking about how we feel like we're ancients in the space. We have conjured names of those who have come and gone, the Scraticuses of the past and the encounter role plays. How long have you been at this?
I have been streaming now. So before I started streaming, I initially started with YouTube video style essays or essay style videos for Dungeons and Dragons. And I started that on March 1st of 2018.
Can I ask what your first video was?
My first video was called Villains of the Sandbox. And what that had to do was it was a breakdown of player agency and what that means for the role players. Because at the time, I had been reading Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is the breakdown of the hero's journey. So all about like you go out and you refuse the call, you accept the call, and blah, 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 blah. Because at the time,
the mentor dies, always.
Exactly. You have to have the mentor die. But at the time, while I was reading that, I had been working on a game that would never be released with some friends. But like I was doing that as just like, I want to know what it takes to run a story. And in the book, there was a very interesting point that was made, which was that heroes are reactionary, but villains are proactive. Whenever you meet a hero, they're always going to be reacting to something else that is happening in the world. But that got me thinking, because in my home game that I was playing in, there was the constant joke of just like, oh, are we the baddies? But if you think about it from a player perspective, when you're finished with your story and you as the player are like, okay, well, what do I do? Well, I'm going to go and do this thing. From the Hero with 1,000 Faces perspective, because you are the ones that are then like, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go off and I'm going to start doing these things. Technically, you are a villain. So when you're in a very like an adventure module, right? Like when it's like Tyranny of Dragons or Ghosts of Saltmarsh, the heroes are always being presented with something that they can react to, something that is going to call them to that adventure. But when you're presented with a like levels 1 through 20 sandbox, or it's like Saints Row, like that kind of thing, when you're just thrown into it, that idea of making your own fun technically is the villain mentality, because you're going out being like, okay, well, I'll make a bar. Right? Like, even if it's something as simple as that, like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to start a bar. Okay, you start a bar, and then you have the things around you reacting to it, and then you have to start reacting back. But because you were the one who initiated that go out, you're the one who initiated that story beat, by definition, you would be considered a villain, at least according to Joseph Campbell. So that's what that first video was about. Was the idea that player characters, as much as we like to see ourselves as heroes, are kind of villains half the time.
Yeah. I think I've watched enough Baldur's Gate 3 playthroughs to understand that most people are villains.
Look, they made Dark Urge for a reason. And Dark Urge is that sense of just like, I see a hand, fuck it, I'm going to cut it off in the portal. And then you find out it was Gale's, and now you can't have Gale. And that's fine.
And nothing of value was lost.
I got to keep 3 magic items that I wasn't able to keep before. Oh no. But yeah, so that was that first video. And then later on, I would end up doing videos like I did the history of the Adventurers League for Dungeons and Dragons, and kind of how that came to be. And at the time, that was my most watched video, was the history of the Adventurers League, kind of tying it back to like early AD&D things, because at the time during AD&D and 3.5, there was a living campaign that you could enroll in, but a lot of that was actually based off of like mailing shit in to TSR and letting them know, and then they would mail you back. They didn't have in-store events at the time. In-store events wouldn't end up coming into effect until Wizards of the Coast took over for TSR in the early 2000s for 3rd edition. And then once we got that, then they were part of the Wizards Play Network. And once they were part of the Wizards Play Network, then we got the global campaign, which was also really cool because they would have things going on in the world of Greyhawk at the time, where depending on how many people hit certain story beats, that would determine the outcome of future adventures. So if enough people in the Adventurers League were able to save so and so such and such a person in a Tomb of Annihilation run for Adventurers League, and they submit it, the next time that we meet that character, they would either be alive or dead based off of the result of the combined results of the Adventurers League, which was really cool.
So the thing happened again.
What happened?
Let me explain to you what the thing is, Indoor.
Yeah.
The thing is where I will watch and really enjoy a piece of content, and then later on I'll be talking to somebody and they're like, hey, so a long time ago I made this piece of content, and I'm like, why does this sound fucking familiar? And then I'm like, oh, I love that fucking video. You're the guy that fucking made it.
I'm the guy. Yeah, so my initial YouTube series was called Simple and Keen. So if you've ever seen a Simple and Keen video, hey, you're playing with that guy.
Yeah.
This is listen. If Noir,
am I the second nickel?
That's the second nickel.
Yes.
If Noir had a nickel for every time, he'd have 2 nickels.
As you're describing it, I'm like, yeah, I watched a really kick-ass video that explained the same thing. Let me go in my history. Yeah, that's the one I say.
Yep.
Little
so
cartoon they were you in the corner.
Yeah. So that was I had a friend, a roommate at the time. A roommate at the time told me, hey, a dude's coming up. He'll be staying with us for like a week while he gets this job, and then he finds his own place. Well, a week ended up turning into 3 months of him living with us. But but he was an artist. He was a super cool guy. Eventually he moved out and we're still friends. He's actually, that friend specifically is now the assistant manager of lore for the Sonic team at Sega.
That's awesome.
Look, if there's anybody I trust with Sonic lore, it's that guy. Like, good for Chris, you know. But he drew that for me, and drew that initial like paper style background that was there, to help me get started on the channel because we were living together at the time. Cool. And I was really inspired by video essays from like Super Eye Patch Wolf, who at the time was doing a lot of like anime reviews. Now he's doing like, is The Simpsons still good? Wrestling videos and like that kind of thing. But I was really inspired by him. I was really inspired by the YouTuber Brutal Moose. So a lot of the early videos.
Name. I don't know Brutal. I haven't seen any of their content.
I think you would really enjoy Brutal Moose. He does a lot of cooking videos at this point in time, but his cooking videos are like trying out 5 different products that he found at the Bass Pro Shop kind of thing. Like, he's just a really fucking funny dude. I think that you recommend check out Brutal Moose. But I was watching a lot of like his highly edited videos, and so like I think that editing specifically, like we talk about writing and we talk about acting, but I think the act of editing is a draw into its own voice in and of itself. Because if you can find somebody who edits something boring very well, you're still going to enjoy it. So those early videos was me being like, okay, I'm presenting like this really boring information, at least as far as like outsiders go, or like getting people involved. But if, for example, I can layer 5 different instances of Geralt saying the words Gwent, do you want to play some Gwent, over themselves in this video as a rule of 3 in terms of comedy, that's going to get people like coming back. That's going to make them enjoy this video, even if like what they're listening to is something that they've either heard before or it's kind of dry.
Yeah, I've had waves of wanting to do video essays. Like I love like High Top Films is one that I like to hate watch because I disagree so vehemently with them. My movies with Mikey and all that kind of stuff. I really need to buy Curiosity Stream is what I'm saying. But but like, yeah, I've always admired folks that could do the editing on those kind of things, because I think that's where the magic of those types of that type of content is.
Yeah.
So heck yeah, man.
So I was doing that for a while. And then I started streaming. I started doing an actual play because like while I was doing that, I had friends reach out that I played like one shots with. I was just like, that would see the videos and they're like, hey man, like if you ever get like a level 1 through 20 campaign, you ever get something like going, think of me, like let me know, right? And so I was able to pick my friends, and then that's where we started streaming on August 1st of 2018. And then I did that thing, that ADHD promise of, just like, all right, guys, I know that there's a delay on more Simple and Keen videos, but don't worry, I'll definitely be making more. 5 years ago, like it's when life gets busy and that's not your main focus is creating this content. Because initially I was like, okay, I'm going to do these like every 2 weeks. And then every 2 weeks became, I'm going to do this every month. And then every month became, I'm going to do this every season. And then every season came every year. There's a line from Aesop Rock in the song Rings off of the Mystery Kid album, where he talks about you start, like you give yourself a stopping point for a day, then a week goes by, then it turns into a month and a year, and you stop and you lose that like grasp that you had on your artistic medium, which is really
good. I have seen channels come and go for a multitude of reasons, some better than others, and it's just like the work in maintaining not just a place to put the content, but also making the content itself. I really think folks kind of underestimate that. Like, it's just,
oh yeah,
it's a Herculean task to just consistently come out with content and to maintain the channels and to do the sponsorships, to run the coffees or the Patreons and
exactly
all of that stuff. And I think, you know, I think we tend to look at online creation with I can only call it boomer eyes, which is just, oh, you're gonna sit in front of a camera and play video games all day or play Dungeons and Dragons all day. Well, that's easy. Like, that's not real work.
Anybody can turn on a camera and be funny.
Yes.
And then, you know, the same day, the same Monday or the same Saturday or the same Friday, you got to be in front of the camera ready to go over and over and over again. And I don't think people like really understand, like, yeah, that takes some doing, you know? So kudos to you.
The thing that I think that people don't embrace when they first start is that you see a lot of streamers and they'll make good content and then they kind of go away because for a lot of them it's a hobby, and like, good, you know, like, respect the hobby. If you don't want to keep doing it, that's fine, because what they don't realize is that when they start, it is no longer a hobby. It is a second job. It is like the amount of time that you put in is intense, and I think that can burn out a lot of people if they don't understand how best to create that mental diversion into it. So for example, I work from home a lot of the time. So on Monday morning, I wake up at 6:30. I am at my job until about 4:30. At 5, I then start getting back-end production ready for Monday night stream. At 5, giving myself a 30-minute break to stretch, move about, get a snack. 5:30, the stream starts. We don't have our first break until 7. Break lasts for anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. Break then ends. We go until 8:30. We have a secondary break to give the cast time to stand up and stretch. They get done with that at roughly 8:40, 8:50. Then we hop back on for Nights in the Courtyard, our after show that we like to do, which then lasts anywhere between 15 to 45 minutes. When that's all said and done, I then hop on to DaVinci. I start editing. Once I'm done editing, that's usually about 30 minutes later. I hit the process button. And by that time, it's about 10 o'clock and in the evening, and I can eat dinner. And then I still have to wait an hour and a half to be able to then upload it onto YouTube. Once it's uploaded onto YouTube, I have to open up Photoshop, create the thumbnail, make sure that that's up so that way I can get the video out the next day. And that means that my Monday was spent from 6:30 in the morning till 10:30 in the evening, pulling a double shift that I gave myself. And I've been doing that for 5 years.
And that's assuming that everything goes smoothly. Like, I don't know how many times I've edited something and then I watch it on the playback and then there's just like a fucking hole in the middle.
Oh, that's not the one that gets me. The one that gets me is when I forget to switch the audio track from stereo to mono. And so you spend the whole time rendering the video, like however long, you finally get it uploaded, then you listen to it and it's only coming through the left ear.
Oh God.
It drives me. Like, at that point you're just like, and it's such a simple, like a 1-2 button that you could have pressed and saved yourself like 5 hours of headache later.
You gotta re-export the whole goddamn thing.
The whole thing. God.
Something that I'm starting to appreciate now more than ever is that we often ignore the emotional cost of things.
Oh yeah.
And I full transparency, I had a mental health just disaster a while ago, and I really had to sit back and kind of take a look at like how I was processing emotions with stuff, and like we don't give any credence at all to that. We don't give ourselves time to process emotion. We don't give ourselves time to feel things. It's just like go, 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 go. And like I don't feel like we feel the cost of that immediately, but over time, the tread runs off the wheels.
It's well, that again, I think is a lot of the reason that at least like the reason that is presented, I see a lot of creators encountering burnout, right? Is that they'll post and be like, it's unsustainable. I can't keep doing this. This is too hard on me. And like and it's not like I've been doing this for so long. Yes, I've never experienced burnout. Man, I started experiencing burnout like 3 years ago, and I'm still here. Like I am a husk of ash at this point in time, but I'm still making videos, baby. No, I'm not. I'm streaming with my friends, and I'm doing that. That's why you haven't seen a Simple and Keen video in forever, is because like I can't do that right now. I don't have the time. But I think that emotional investment is something that people don't anticipate, is that like the lack of sleep, the long hours, that kind of thing, it wears on you. If you're only, and it's the same concept of like, if you're only getting like 5 hours of sleep every night, like you might be like, oh, I function fine on 5 hours.
Just at me next time, bro. No, I'm kidding.
Hey man, insomnia and ADHD. Like if I wake up in the morning, I am everyone's worst fucking enemy at conventions because I'm a morning person. If I am up, I'm up, man. Like I'm good. Like this whole thing started at 8 a.m. I woke up at 6 because like that's just my natural rhythm at this point. I am a morning person. I woke up super early. I've just been going. Like that's what coffee's for. I can hop out of bed, clothes on, out the door 10 minutes. So like I don't think that you have to be a very particular kind of person to live by that schedule. And like my friend Jen is they're the kind of person who power naps, but they'll do like the 3 hour naps, up for a while, 3 hour nap, up for a while, and they're just up forever. Like shout out to them. That's great. I cannot do that because there is a certain point that I can't push. I can't go on past that.
There was actually research about people that have the staggered sleep schedules where like you take a nap in the middle of the day. Like there was actually evidence that people in previous eras, that's how they would do it. They would sleep in shifts in like they'd be awake for like maybe 4 hours, then have like maybe a 3-hour sleep, and they staggered they wouldn't just get the solid 8 hours. They would break it up over a period of time so that they could be more productive during daylight hours.
And you know what? They were all dying by age 30. So let's really take a good look
That's fair.
at how that sleep cycle goes. But no, I think that like with creator burnout, I think that that's the other thing is like people don't plan for longevity. They plan for the next week. They plan for the next thing that they're gonna make. And like shout out to you. That's great. Love that for whoever's doing that out there. But it is like what Noir was saying. You have to realize what is a healthy and sustainable schedule for you, what is important to you. If the stream is important to you, that's great, but don't have that be the only thing that you do, because if that's the only thing that you're doing, like if you go to work, you go home, you stream, you sleep, go to work, you stream, go to sleep, like if that's all that you're doing, you're not taking the time to have, and this is something that I fully believe in, have a non-streamed hobby. Have something that you do for you that the camera is not on. In Noir's case, it's music. For me, like I build models, I play trading card games. Like I need something that is a non-screen related activity to help me center myself, because then I can go back to streaming and feel like, okay, like I can put on my customer service mask in front of a camera for like 3 hours at a time and then be done. And like, because it was something that like at a time I respect, and at the same time, man, maybe not. There is a friend that I had who I saw was like, oh, they're streaming. And I was like, oh, okay. I wonder what they're streaming. And it was them. And they were just cutting their bangs on stream. Like they just had their stream up and like that was their doing. And they were just like, man, monetize everything. Like if you're going to be doing anything, might as well be getting paid for it.
That is truly the ADHD trap is well, I really enjoy doing this. I wonder if I could stream it.
I wonder if like this could be, I wonder if this is going to be my thing.
I could make some money at it.
I mean, and that's kind of the other part of the emotional cost that like in this space, there are going to be some people that just kind of want to win. And like, in this space, you really got to do the work to tell who you're collaborating with versus who your friends are. And like, I one of the things that I think is unhealthy here is like, it's almost like everybody pretends to be the latter rather than just acknowledging, yo, we're just collaborating.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little toxic because, I mean, we've seen how these relationships can go sour where one person is just here for the business and the other person's just like, we're best friends.
They're a social relationship.
Oh, it's ugly. And you gotta you've got to protect your heart, man. Like that sounds corny as shit, but like it's for real. No. You got to protect yourself.
That's actually something that I've been noticing and experiencing. I want to say in the probably last year or so. But one of the folks that I interact with frequently, like they are like a big creator, but like every time you talk to them, it's like not necessarily business talk, but it's talk about the hustle where they're just like, oh, I was like at this booth or I was doing this thing. And like everything that you interact with them with, it feels like if that is their true self, like if that's like how they are in person, like what are your non-streamed hobbies? Like, are you your stream persona? And like you do meet people like that, right? Where it's like Northern Lion online, for example, like dude's like he streams 8 hours a day. I'm just going to assume that is roughly what he is going to act like. But like when you meet somebody and they're like, again, content creator, but everything that they talk about is like brand deals and who they're interacting with and who they're collabing with. Like, I'd prefer something like this where like, I mean, I reached out to you guys because I was like, hey, I want to play game. Do you want to play game? There's literally like, I have no sponsors. I have no sponsors. I have no like grand reach. I just want to meet new people and have a shared experience at a table together. You sound good?
Yes.
That sound fun? And like, that is my whole approach to the TTRPG scene. And like over the last 5 years, I've never had an open casting call for a table. I have handpicked everybody, like personally, if not like I have people who I trust vehemently. So effectively, I don't really vet my players because the people I'm playing with, I am friends with and I trust them. And even if I haven't played with them, I am asking people who I do trust to present me people that they trust to be able to be at a table together. And I think that that's a huge difference where you see like a lot of these channels that rise and fall is that like open casting call, who's ready to do this? And it's like, hello, yes, my name is John Johnson and I will act cool for the first 5 sessions and I'm going to say something completely unhinged and probably a little racist in session 5. At that point, the audience will be too invested and you'll have to wonder, can you really afford to get rid of me? It's like, yeah, bye. Like,
oh, it's happening. It's happening. I'm about to get right.
I can feel it. It's welling up in me. Like
I just have flashbacks.
Like. That's what I'm saying. And that like I've never had that problem on my channel because everybody that has been on the stream for the most part are people that I know. Are people that I've played one-shots with either off camera or I've known them from way back or like that kind of thing where like I can vouch for them. And the people that are on the channel, the people that are being presented, are people that I am friends with. Because I don't want to be at a table where there is just one dude who's being really fucking weird and ruining the experience for everybody. I don't want to be involved with that. I'd rather not. We can all take a big old pass.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really does help with the, like, one of the things that I have seen play out over and over and over and over and over again is people feeling beholden and trapped to toxic tables.
Oh my god, no!
Where it's just toxic, like,
get the fuck out,
right? Like I've heard horror stories where people are like, I went at the table, like, this is just me exaggerating, but I went to the table, they just punched me in the face for 6 hours, and I'm like, fucking leave! I can't though. We're so close to meeting the bad guy. I'm like, you're getting your ass kicked.
But the story is funner though.
Look, you've been meeting the bad guy every single week that you show up to that table. If it's toxic, it's time to leave, my guy.
Like free yourself. You got a different adventure. Your adventure is escaping the fucking table.
God, no thanks.
Oh God. I mean, but it happens so fucking often. Or it's just like, I can't leave this table. This is a great opportunity for me. Yeah, a great opportunity for you to get punched in the face for 6 hours.
God, again, like, just nah, I'm good. Like, I would rather, and like, it's, oh my God, like, that's so many things that, like, you hear from horror stories, right? Where it's just like someone, or like somebody's just like, yeah, you know, like, I'm a very empathetic person. I feel for a lot of my players and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, those are some red flags that you're popping up there. Let's see how this goes. And then, like, oh, okay, like, oh, this empath ends up being like an emotionally manipulative person who's like, oh, you can come to me with your problems, that's fine. And then 5 minutes later they're like, so this is how I'm going to use your problems to kind of twist my own narrative into what I want out of the situation. Like, no, I've played enough villains in TTRPGs to recognize a sociopath. Like, I'm not about this, my friend.
Sphinx, don't call me out like that.
God damn. Like, but no, I'm kind of enjoying this topic because it's I've heard so many stories. I've heard stories of people who couldn't get themselves to leave, people who were getting ready to leave, but the GM kept them there via, like, the carrot and the stick, like, oh, this thing you want to have happen in the story is just around the corner. You sure you want to leave? I've seen...
Mine was, I didn't want to abandon the other people at the table with a terrible GM.
Oh, you were that one. Your friends in a like abusive relationship, but like they're also really shitty about the whole thing because they're like, you know, like they're playing off of each other's bad behaviors.
I just want to make sure that my friends are okay.
But like,
if you leave, there's nothing stopping me from doing what I'm doing to you, to them.
Exactly. You can't be the guardian in that one. Like, again, like, that's when you need to find the, like, Guy Fawkes tunnel under Parliament for that specific thing and just be like, okay, remember, fucking light the whole fucker. Like,
the other one I seen, and this is the one that I feel is particularly dirty, mainly because it worked on me like maybe once or twice. No. It's where the GM gets another player to convince you to stay.
Oh, that's slimy. That's gross. Ivan Ooze and the Power Rangers. No fucking thanks. Like,
buy my ooze.
That's the GM.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's some next level fuckery.
Yeah.
Okay. God damn, no. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but if a player voices a concern, maybe you listen to them. It's like a drastic new concept that I've been working on, that if people like come to me as a showrunner or as a GM and say like, hey, I wasn't comfortable about that, you go, oh, okay, I'll change that.
You gotta start reaching into your dickhead GM bag, because if a player has a grievance against you, You don't listen to the player. What you do is you turn the table against that player. That's what you do.
So I've heard a phrase going around. It's gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Is that what I'm supposed to be doing?
Gaslight, gatekeep, game master.
Game master. Okay, so like I got the gatekeeping down. I got the gaslighting. Like that's what I'm working on. And like
shirt.
Gaslight, gatekeep, game master. That's the next piece of merch.
Okay,
you have that one for free.
I'll open Illustrator. Let's go.
Oh god, but no, I just all that to say, play at the table with folks you know you trust, and if you find yourself at a table and you're getting punched in the face, please, just no.
I think that a lot of that is that people feel very that they don't want to date, like the mama didn't raise no quitter. Like they don't want to be the one who quits. They don't want to be the one that calls it off. If they're having a bad experience, they would rather somebody else do it. And I'm
not going to ruin it for everybody else.
I don't want. Yeah, like if everyone else is having a really good time, I don't want to ruin that experience for them. And I think that there needs to be more agency in the players, from the player's perspective. If you're having a bad time at a table, just leave. If the vibes are off at the table, leave. Like in the current climate that we live in, there are so many people that are willing to play a good game of any kind of tabletop for you that you can find online. You could go on Twitch. Obviously, if you see somebody playing a game and you hop in their Twitch chat and you're like, I could roll for initiative too if you just add me to the voice chat, like not the best way to go about doing that, obviously. But there are websites now that it's like, find me a game. And there are so many ways. Like it's not like back before streaming really kicked off where you can just like, oh, well, I've been playing with this game group for like 5 years and I don't know. Like I like them as my friends, but I don't know. This table's just kind of off and I'm not really feeling it, but I don't have other friends that play this game. So I'm kind of stuck here. No, fuck them. Like you can just leave and find a new table in like 20 minutes. Like,
I mean, like spoiler alert, you leaving the table is going to have like one of 4 consequences. 1, you all leave on good terms. That's the good ending. Congratulations. You made all the right choices to get to the good ending. Bad ending. The other endings are you walk away from the table and then the players come with you going, oh man, I thought I was the only one. I cannot tell you how many times where I've been like, you know what? Fuck this. And somebody at the table went, was it just me?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another ending where you all end up having coffee talking about how fucking terrible that table was. And why didn't you say anything? Well, why didn't you say anything? That's always a fun conversation. I love those conversations.
So
go ahead.
No, keep going.
I was going to say ending 3 is you leave and the GM goes, this person was toxic and bad and this is why they had to get away from my table. I had to get them out and they will.
Am I misunderstanding this? No, it is the children who are wrong. And he points to the player that's like, you're a problem. You're a toxic piece.
I said there's only one good ending. I lied. 4, the last good ending is you get ready to leave and the table decides with you to oust the problem player and then you restore the balance of the table and things go well again.
All right, so what's it like living in Magical Christmas Land? Because I've never seen that one happen before.
I have, and when it happened,
did it feel good? I assume
like,
so.
Well, I'm trying to like think of a pop culture reference to kind of tell you just how fucking magical it is. It's like
season
like
5 of Community. Chevy Chase is no longer there.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like. Where it's just like, no, you go home. It's just like, and everybody's like, yeah, you go home, and then the evil just It's banished forever.
You're sitting. The evil has been defeated.
It's like the ending of Return of the Jedi. Like the Ewoks are dancing, everybody's dancing around the universe.
There's the Force ghost of players who left the table before.
Someone needs to get on this edit.
There's a fifth you leave and nothing changes at the table and they never think of you again. Well, yeah.
That also.
But you know what? I probably won't be thinking of that table either. Like if I present a problem and I leave and then they all just go back to everyone stays the same shitty table, I'll only think of them once. And that is for situations like this when someone's like, what's the worst experience you've ever had at a table? I'm like, oh, I know, like situation number 5. Fuck those guys. Like,
can I give you the pettiest outcome? Outcome number 6, which is okay. So there's the ending where you walk away from a very bad game, and then you and somebody else at the table decide to start a Twitch channel, and you make a talk show, and then you end up having that player's favorite person as a guest, and you tell that person the story of the person whose table you had to leave, and you get them to say on air that person is a dickhead.
This is the South Park Scott Tenorman Must Die. You got Radiohead to call him a piece of shit.
Yeah, we did.
That's the most beautiful thing. I'm so happy. There is like a joy, a deep joy that has been sparked in me. Whoever that was, fuck that guy, but also bless the both of you. Oh man, not all heroes wear capes. Wow, what a great. I think the future's a little brighter knowing this.
When it happened, I was almost in tears because I was like, my vengeance is complete. We can stop the show now.
No, like this was no longer. Yeah, this was no longer a talk show. This was a quest for revenge. Yes. Like, you could have just like planted the flag and been done and called it good and been like, the last episode of our audio cast, I got mine. Anyways, here you go.
Oh God, it just
that's beautiful.
Somebody else will have to take the lead on this interview because I'm in my happy place right now.
Wow.
Another one that I experienced was I decided to leave the table, and then other people saw that as a reason that they could also leave the table, and they ended up replacing us on the cast with other people, and the show lasted maybe 3 more episodes after that. Because one of the people that they brought in was toxic.
Oops. Whoops. They lost their best cast member when you left. I don't know what show that was, but after playing with you, like, sucks to be them.
Oh God. All right. We've been at this for hours, so we got some questions I gotta get to. Yes. We've been having such a good time talking about everything.
I love being here. Thanks so
much. This is so much fun. Like, usually I wait to the end to say this, but I'm gonna say it before we even get to the break. I'm gonna bully you to come back. This has been a great time.
Hey, whenever you need a guest, I'm right here.
All right. Hold on, I gotta get myself ready for this. Like, I've just left like the fucking peak of happiness,
of joy,
and now I could possibly go to the valley of sadness. So I'm just bracing myself. In the TTRPG space, there is a war going on between those of us who see these as storytelling devices that you roll and you see the result and you tell the story thusly. And then there are others of us who see these as forbidden candy to be crunched on.
Okay.
Of course, there is a third faction of cowards who are too afraid to choose a side. So, I just have to ask you, what side of this war are you on? Are you on Stop the Crunch, or Dice Defenders, as we like to call ourselves? Are you on Crunch Crew, where you want to pop these in your mouth? Or are you on the coward side, crunch responsibly?
Be crunch responsible.
So I will answer that question with a display.
Don't you fucking do it. Don't
I have a plate ready. So I'm gonna pick this D8 here and
no! Oh God, no! God. No, you were the chosen one. Oh, this is Sarah's fault. This is Sarah's influence on you. Hype Goblin's influence on you. Fucking, oh God damn it.
That one was good. It's kind of like a blue raspberry flavor. If you don't mind, I'm gonna have a second one.
No. All right. Well, I
think you know where I stand on that.
Yeah, I got a pretty good idea.
So that practical joke is in thanks to Candy Counters. Blue raspberry hard dice. I knew this question was coming, so as soon as we confirmed that I was going to be on this, I went online and it was like, Candy Dice, enter.
My heart was breaking.
But now I have to finish the rest of this with a totally blue tongue. So, like, who's the real winner here?
Not all heroes wear capes. Some eat dice.
You got checked going crazy. That might be the best. Like that. This is definitely going on the highlight reel of best of. Oh my God.
I think this goes right after Sarah's answer.
Shit. Oh, I didn't think it was possible to win this segment, but I think we just witnessed it. Oh my God.
There should be, in that, hopefully the audio picks up, there's a very satisfying crunch as my teeth shatter one of those candy die.
I don't know that it picked it up through I think Zoom's audio filters might have got that one.
Look, I can do it again. I got the rest of this set. There's a D20, a D6. Like, they made
How
the full...
many are there?
It was the full polyhedron set.
Oh my God.
It was like $10 plus shipping. This is worth it.
Folks want you to roll the candy first.
Okay, roll for candy. Let's see here. That is a 5. No more candy. I failed the candy pass.
Fight the candy.
Look, okay, there's that goblin brain though. Like, if the numbers were painted, I would use these at a table, and if I rolled a 1 and the DM didn't know, I would just fucking pop it and shatter that dice in my teeth and just like...
I gotta tell you, if I was the GM and you did that at my table, I'm packing up my shit and I am leaving. If somebody goes, oh fuck, I rolled a 1, I'm out of there. I'm fucking out of there.
Thank you for that clip, more shoddy.
More than you. Listen, I think you got some fans today, buddy.
Twitch.tv/Indoor Adventures. Come find me on Mondays and Sundays. Oh, natural one, natural flavors. Not with these. Blue raspberry isn't real.
Raspberries aren't blue.
Wait, are blue raspberries just blueberries?
No, it's an artificial flavor. It's fake. There's no such thing as a blue raspberry. Did you think they were blueberries this whole time? That's okay. I didn't realize jackalopes weren't real until like 3 years ago. It's okay. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. We lost
Either that or he's looking for like a blueberry, blue raspberry something in the house.
No, we're out of candy. I need to go get some more.
I went and got orange juice. Because at least I know orange juice is real.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can tell me. Hey, why is orange juice called orange juice when the juice is yellow?
My God.
Because the juice comes from an orange?
This is yellow, right?
That looks like milk, my friend. Are you sure that orange juice is good?
Right, hold on.
Is it like color correct or something?
Yeah, I forgot I have my chroma key going.
Oh yeah, no,
that's yellow.
That's like a Sunny D kind of yellow. Like it could be orange.
That looks like lemonade.
A little.
It's juice. It's the morning.
What came first? The word orange for the color or the word orange for the fruit?
I think it's the word orange for the fruit. Because things like carrots, people used to say that they were red.
Yeah. Also, oranges being orange, I think, because I know that they're like they're in 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. I spent a month in Indonesia, which was super cool. But while I was there, they had oranges that were green. So you would cut into this like green spherical fruit and it would be orange on the inside, like like everything oranges in there. So I'm not sure if oranges are actually supposed to be that. I don't know. I think there's also like, in terms of like the original like making of color, I think it was like brunt or something like that. Like they had like another phrase for it.
Pomme d'orange. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, fruit was originally called narang.
I did some Googling about the whole blueberry thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Google has officially blown my mind. When it comes to nature, blue is very rare. Less than 1 in 10 plants have blue flowers, and far fewer animals are blue. So why is that? Part of the reason is that, and this is the part that is highlighted, there isn't really a true blue color or pigment in nature, and both plants and animals have to perform tricks of the light to appear blue. People are saying blue doesn't exist, and I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore in my brain.
Pink is the same. Pink doesn't exist either.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck do you mean pink doesn't exist?
On a color spectrum, on a visible light spectrum, there is no pink.
Wait, so pink and blue are both manufactured. Gender is a construct. We've confirmed it here. Boy colors, girl colors, they're both fake.
Yeah, gender is fake.
Confirmed.
What about flamingos? There are no flamingos.
Flamingos.
Birds aren't real.
Flamingos get their color from the krill that they eat. They actually are white naturally without the krill.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's there's also what is it? There was an episode of The Magic School Bus where Arnold eats too many carrots and his skin turns orange because of the amount of keratin that he has consumed. Which you have to eat like a shit ton of carrots in order for that to happen. But like,
yes, RJ, birds are not real.
Government constructs, each and every single one of them.
Birds work for the bourgeoisie. Listen, I thought a lot of things might happen on this episode of Morning Ritual with you, Endor. I prepared myself for a lot of things. I did not prepare myself to have my mind blown twice in that blue and pink don't exist. What else? Blue raspberry isn't. I thought for sure the reason there's so many candies that are called blue raspberries is because there are the regular raspberries and then there are the blue ones, which were just blueberries. I don't know why I thought blue raspberries was blueberries. Wait, what are blueberries if blue doesn't exist in nature?
Blueberries are actually purple. Green inside and they're purple on the outside.
Yep.
Have you ever seen a peeled blueberry?
The real flavor of blue raspberry is mostly esters of the banana, cherry, and pineapple.
Huh. Now I know. I did not know that.
Yep. Sugar is commonly used to create taste appeal for the blue raspberry flavoring. Thanks, Google. Hopefully that wasn't Google like being unlearned from AI, but
I just Googled it. Okay, what color is blueberry? Google says purple. While blueberries are commonly referred to as blue, their actual color is a deep purple. The reason they appear blue is due to the unique way in which our eyes perceive color.
Yep.
My eyes are lying to me.
Correct.
Time to remove them. I need true eyes. Maybe that's my next Apocalypse Keys character, is that they're a completely normal guy, but they see color for what it is.
Right? Like, there's a sketch that I love where it's like the Freaky Friday where they trade bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they trade back, they're like, your red is my brown. Your brown is my yellow. It's like, I can't.
That'd be the worst way to find out you're colorblind, because I would never unfreaky Friday. I'd just be like, no, you get my shit ass eyes. I'm running off with your body.
Oh, if I Freaky Friday with anybody, the chances of me coming back to this old banger is slim to none. First off, I'm short. If I Freaky Friday with anybody whose height starts with 6, no takebacks.
Look, 6'3" over here. I would love to maybe like just be a little bit shorter, because that way I can sit in planes and not just feel like my legs are like propped up for the entire flight. That'd be but cool.
When you go to a concert, you don't just see backs and people's cell phones.
But as a conscientious tall concert goer, I stand towards the back.
You are a rarity, my friend.
Either that, or if there's like a balcony seating, I want to sit. I want to have a beer. I want to listen to live music. And if I feel rowdy, I'll run on down and join whatever pit is happening at the time.
Hold on, chat just said something that I don't know why, but it has upset me on a deep, emotional, spiritual.
Strawberries are berries.
Strawberries are not a berry because a berry has to have its seeds on the inside. A strawberry has its seeds on the outside. Watermelons also seeds on the inside, hard husk on the outside.
Cucumbers are also berries.
Yep.
I feel like y'all are just trying to piss me off at this.
So are bell peppers. Bell peppers are berries.
I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you.
Tomatoes, not fruit, berries.
That one I can believe though, because tomatoes are like really juicy. At least from like, I enjoy a good tomato, but every once in a while that scene from, I think it was the Lord of the Rings comes back, where it's that dude just like onto a fucking like tomato in the scene, and it looks so juicy. It looks so good. And as somebody who hated tomatoes forever, and then recently, like within the last year or so, was like, oh, these actually kind of slap. Hated that scene. But now when I see it, I'm just like, fuck, I want a tomato. This sucks. I need to go out to the store.
Yeah, vegetables vegetables don't actually exist. There's just a classification because nothing is a vegetable. Beans? That's a legume.
No. Wait, hold on. According to the U.S. Senate, pizza is considered a vegetable. That was an official voting that was an official passage into legislature that happened. I want to say maybe 10, 12 years ago. I think we're just breaking
noir today.
Pizza is considered a vegetable because the United States public school system did not want to have to offer legitimate vegetables like carrot sticks and other things like that. So they ended up lobbying that the amount of tomato paste and other such products that are used in pizza set it over the 50% edge for what is considered a vegetable and what is considered not. So now public schools offer pizza as a vegetable substitution. The more you know.
Ba 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 ba.
Ketchup is a fruit smoothie. I'm done. I can't.
It was a good interview, guys. We broke the host.
I can't fucking do this anymore. I want off of this planet.
Listen. Intelligence is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a smoothie. Charisma is the ability to sell the fruit-based smoothie, which salsa.
If there's any extraterrestrials that are monitoring the signals of things happening
teaching them, they're learning,
and you're debating whether you want to invade, fucking do it, man.
Just start with me and then go on to everybody else, or just stay with me. It's fine.
I'm fucking done, bro. Like,
oh my god, deep dish is an open-faced pizza pot pie. You've never said anything more true, I'm assuming, more Shaddy, but like, oh, I'm ride or die for that. That sounds awesome.
Like, if Morshadi knows what to say to hurt me the most. It's just like,
it's like having Lex Luthor as like your frenemy. Like he's supportive, but he's out of pocket.
Like, life is so much better when you're dumb. Like, when I didn't know any of this, I was happy. Why would they call it strawberry if it's not a berry?
That's why it's called the burden of knowledge.
I don't want to know these things. I miss who I was 10 minutes ago. He was so happy.
So, well, I'm going to try to steer this back to a conversation. We still got a couple more questions that we had.
Raspberries are members of the Rose family. Go fuck yourself, brother. I'm sorry.
RJ's also out of pocket.
Thank you for watching our show. I'm so sorry. that came from a very real part of me. I didn't have any control over that.
Okay, Indoor.
Yeah.
Our next question. Usually Noir gets to decide whether or not it's a punishment question or it's if it's the softer of the two questions, but I'm just gonna go random mode. You are God Emperor of the TTRPG space for 24 hours. And with the snap of your fingers, you can make any 3 things happen. What do you decide to bring into reality?
Things that I will bring into reality. First and foremost, I will instill in every single TTRPG player's mind that they do not need to reinvent the wheel using 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. If you want to play a game in a campaign setting, I guarantee you there is a game in that setting that is already doing it and makes a lot more sense than you trying to figure out what Arcana could mean in the Wild West. I just let people play other games. As somebody who's primarily a D&D streamer, play other games. For the love of God. First Thanos snap. Play different games. 2, I would love for the obviously like toxic people, that sort of thing. That obliterates like 3/4 of the fandom. I'm kind of fine with that. I would like for my Thanos snap would be for people to listen more and to talk less. I think that would benefit a lot of tables quite a bit. I've seen a lot of actual plays. I've seen a lot of live plays where like there's one person at the table who feels like they need to have a quip or a joke or a one-liner at the end of every single thing that every single person at the table says. My guy, you do not. You can sit, you can wait, sit on your hands if you need to. I don't care, but like let other people have their moments.
Yeah, RJ.
Yeah, that's my husband. Yeah, fuck that guy. No, I love you, RJ. You know that more than anyone. And my third finger snap is that it would not be mandatory, but it would be highly suggested. See one piece of live performed theater. One. Doesn't matter what play you go and see. It doesn't matter who you go and see, what run, anything. It could even be like a video broadcast of something. But go and see an element of live theater, because the way that the cast will interact while on stage will give you a much better understanding of what your place to be at the table can be. How to present, how to enunciate, how to then present that to folks. I think that seeing live theater, or again, even a stream of something like that is fine. I think that would be my third mandatory requirement, is that if you are planning on putting on a performance week after week of a continuing story, that understanding basic elements of theater will serve you so much better in the long run. Because we can all watch movies, we can all watch shows, but you aren't, as a performer, putting on a movie. You're not putting on a show. You're putting on a performance. And to understand the basic elements of what makes a performance is going to I think would elevate the actual play sphere far past where it currently is if we all just had an understanding and an appreciation for where we came from. As far as how that goes. Also, yes, see One Piece, full stop. It's great. They're at chapter 1071 right now, and it's been a joyride the entire way. Love it.
I've been meaning to watch all of One Piece. I've only seen 2 episodes now. It's not what I thought it was. It seems to be pretty okay, but the fans, they are something else. Like I put on TikTok that I was watching One Piece, and they just flocked over like, I'm gonna live vicariously through you now.
Okay, so that's the as a slight tangent aside. My brief little One Piece bit, because I could talk about One Piece for this entire time, but I won't, to save everybody time. That's a different podcast for a different day. It is imagine a single story running for 25 years with no filler. That is One Piece. There are people who have been born and can buy alcohol who have never known a world where One Piece is not in publication.
There are people who have been born and can rent cars.
There are people who are off of their parents' health insurance. Like, One Piece has been around forever, so you're going to experience people who are just like, oh, One Piece is the best, because that's literally like when you encounter older weebs, and I want to say like not older, but like that first generation to America weeb where they're just like, oh, Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, like they're saying like these classic shonen series, and like that's their thing. And then the second generation, I would say, would be, as RJ put it, the big 3, which was Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. Out of all of those, One Piece is still going with the same story that it set in place when the first chapter released. So you're like, if you do anything One Piece, you're going to get a shit ton of people coming out being like, oh, you're just starting? Oh, I wish I could go back to the East Blue where the biggest problem was Buggy the Clown. Oh, Arlong and his pirates. Oh, like you're gonna get
that's exactly what's happening.
And you know what? If I am one of those people where like I started getting into One Piece when I was like 13, right? Like I've been following One Piece forever, and I wish I could go back to not knowing anything about it. Because not necessarily not knowing anything about it, right? But like having that like, oh yeah, like I read like the first 10 volumes of it. And then like my parents wouldn't buy me anymore. So I didn't know where to find the translation. So I fell off. And then the pandemic happened. And in 2021, I decided that my New Year's resolution was going to be to read all of One Piece. And I did. It took me a year. But I started in chapter 1 and read 1,000 chapters of this series. And I'd say it's worth it. And like, as somebody who like went back to it, it's great. It's a fantastic series, but that's not part of my Emperor's decrees to make everybody watch One Piece. That's more of a just like, it's a suggestion, because I think that as far as storytellers go, you will find very few people as free as Oda, the creator of One Piece. He will create the biggest bad that you've ever seen, and their minion is a dude who's part giraffe. But he's not part giraffe like you would think with the neck. It is a regular ass man where the giraffe's head should be, and so the neck then extends down into a giraffe body, and the giraffe body can still run around, and there's just this dude like a worm on a string for a cat, just yar har har, let's kill. Like the amount of creativity is unparalleled in One Piece, and I think that is the selling point that people don't often see, because it's just like, oh, the fights, this thing. The emotional story beats. You've seen the live action One Piece. If I remember correctly.
I have not.
Okay. Watch the live action One Piece. As somebody who is a fan of One Piece, watch the live action. It is actually good. If you can make it through those 8 episodes, consider checking it out past that. But as an entry point for the series, it was done very well.
Okay. Like, I have to admit, I do kind of like going into the anime blind.
It gets so much better, but like it's still peak.
I mean, I accidentally started a war between like One Piecers and One Pacers. Like there are people telling me, "Oh, go watch One Piece or go watch these movies. It breaks down the first couple of seasons into like just one movie."
And like a YouTube series or something like that.
One Piece is basically they tell you, watch this episode, watch like 5 minutes of this episode and this episode. It'll do like a quick breakdown of like everything you've done. It's like you can skip this episode, and this episode because these are filler and there's not really much you need. Like, here's what you need to know from these episodes.
Yeah. No, that is a good way of doing it, because when it was first, like when the anime was first coming out, it was one of those things where they were like, we've caught up to the manga. I don't know, maybe they're on this island and they see things there. But then, like, again, like where we're at in the current story, one of the biggest bads that our pirate captain has had to face is a woman named Big Mom. And her ability is that she can instill parts of her soul into inanimate objects who love her unconditionally. So she has taken like clouds, the sun, other things like that, and has created what are called the homies. That's their names. Yeah, but it's like an angry cloud named Hera, a sun by the name of Prometheus, and she's able to like fuse them and other shit like that. And the place where she lives is called Full Cake Island. But it is one of those things, like when you're watching it and when you're reading it and consuming that media, you realize that you are free in the sense where your story that you are telling does not have to be serious in order to still have those difficult narrative beats. It's the quote that or it's the online comic that goes around a lot where it's like, I'm a furble clown named Whoopsie and blah blah blah, and then like they go on, like it says like, oh, 5 sessions in, it's like, go, I'll hold the line. Whoopsie, I've always loved you. I know. Now go. And like it doesn't matter if your character, I know, Pacifica. Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't matter if they look stupid. It doesn't matter what their character design is. If the writing is solid, it will sell that character. You can have a place that's called like Spooky Town, but if you're like, there's something wrong in Spooky Town, like, okay, like tell me about Spooky Town, like what the fuck is going on here? Like you can get that set up, and again, if the writing is good, the writing's good, and you're gonna be into it.
Hell yeah.
But there's an entire comic series called Bone, and people are still losing their shit over Bone.
Yeah.
Bone's good. Yeah. But like the concept where it's just like, oh, this weird little guy, and like you just brush past the fact that he's a weird little guy and get invested in the characters and you get invested in the story.
My brother occasionally sends me reading recommendations, and the one that he just recommended to me that I gotta check out is called Do a Powerbomb.
Ooh, Do a Powerbomb's fun.
Yeah, it's about a wrestler that enters a tournament to win back his mother's soul from the afterlife. Bring her back from the dead.
That sounds awesome and very sad.
It is.
For Spooky Month, I will give a reading recommendation. Do you like watercolor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you like magical girl stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check out Harrow County by Tyler Crook and Cullen Bunn. It is a watercolor magical girl story that is set in a horrifying era of the Deep South, where the main character is a magical girl, but her familiar is a skinless boy. His skin was torn off of his body when he was sneaking through a briar patch. And so she has his skin in her knapsack that she can talk to, and then the skinless boy will go out and do other things. But because it's all watercolor, all of the blood, all of the gore, all of the horror translates so well, because you can just feel the drip on each page that is this gore whenever they do flames or anything like that. It's beautiful. Highly recommend Harrow County.
I'm gonna have to peek this. I just honestly plan to do another Highlander rewatch, but this sounds like it might be more.
if you are a fan of the horror podcast Old Gods of Appalachia, I would highly recommend checking out.
I haven't listened to that, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's a horror anthology podcast. It's not suitable for all listeners.
Oh, there's another one. There's what's it called? It's M something.
Magnus Archives.
Yeah, Magnus Archives. That's another one that I've got to peep out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's some good stuff.
I finished my listen of Thin Places Radio. It's really good.
Ooh.
10 minutes or less.
Midst, like RJ said in chat, also very good. 3 unreliable narrators.
Yeah, I've listened to the first couple episodes of Midst. It's pretty good.
And I've also started recently The White Vault. The White Vault is a horror podcast from 2017 about a research facility that is in the region of Polar Night. They are stuck in an endless blizzard, and it's about like 6 or 7 researchers that are stuck in this facility. Cool thing about it is that all of the voice actors that they got, English is not their first language. So you'll have like somebody like, oh, this such and such scientist is from Germany. This person is from Norway, like that kind of thing. And when it starts with a collection of recordings of like them, but it's these people speaking their native language, and then that eventually fades out, and then there's the English quote unquote translation that goes over it, and it's the same person. But if you like mystery hatches a la Lost, as well as John Carpenter's The Thing, definitely check out The White Vault.
I feel like podcasting is just, it's something that marries so well with actual plays. Like I feel like somebody's gonna link them together in a very cool way one day. And I'm not talking about like posting your actual play as a podcast. I'm talking about using podcasting to expand the world of your actual play.
Adamless does an amazing job.
Ooh. What was their name?
The Adamless.
The Adamless. I'm gonna.
They're a Starfinder campaign. But what they do is they do their show live on Twitch, and then they put out a fully edited podcast that actually they'll drop all of the rolling and all of the numbers.
Oh,
and
okay.
They edit it like an audio drama.
Oh, that's super cool. I really like that, actually. Oh, check that out.
Yeah, I've always had ideas that I want to do in podcasting. I love geeking out over podcasts. I just started listening to Sherlock and Company, which is
okay.
Watson doing a podcast with Sherlock. It is just the funniest fucking thing. Let's see. We've been having so much fun that we haven't done like most of our questions. So here's the next one. You get to play with any 5 people that are alive right now. You get to choose who's the GM, what games you're playing, and who's at the table, and you don't count towards the 5.
Okay.
What's that table look like?
Okay. So I'm picking 4 people.
You're picking 5 people. You don't count towards the 5.
So 6 people in total at the table.
Yep.
Okay, got it. I was like, wait, but 5 people at the table. I don't count towards the 5, but I still pick. Okay, I'm bad at math. It's early. Not so much anymore, but so people that I would love to have at the table with me. I would love to play with Jack Black. I think that Jack Black would be a fantastic TTRPG person.
Did you watch him play at D&D Live?
I did not. I need to go back and watch that. I would love to play with Donald Glover. I think that he would just be very fun. I would love to play alongside Aesop Rock. Big fan of his. I think that he would be incredible at the table. For the GM, I would want Guillermo del Toro, because I think that the way that he creates his fantasy worlds is both welcoming and terrifying. And then for the 5th person, fuck, who would I want as number 5? Because they have to be alive right now, and that's the problem that I'm.
That's what gets everybody.
Okay. I would love to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons with Julia Lepetite from Drawfee. I think that she would be a really fun table mate.
Wait, okay, hold on. I'm unfamiliar. What's the name again?
Julia Lepetite from Drawfee. Drawfee was originally part of the College Humor conglomerate, but then obviously College Humor went under. But what they do is that they are it's a bunch of speed draws.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
They do it's called Drawtectives, and then there was another that was called God, there was one that they did where it was like it was called Draga. Was the name of it. So basically they would have one artist create the backdrop for the scene, and then each character or each player would have their character, and then they would speed draw them into the scene. And so they were creating these like D&D splash drops while like narrating their picture. It was very cool, very fun.
I remember the mirror.
So I would love to play with Julia.
No, Amoeba. Okay, no, that's a good one. That's a good pick.
Good pull.
I'm shooting for my own hand, my dear Amoeba.
I told you, my face gets red. Ours is at home. If you're ever needing like a pink or a red, feel free to just like freeze frame me at any point,
and then just do a little color picker right there.
Yeah, just do the color picker from me. It's fine.
I think we've got about one more question before we cut to break.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've been trying to remember what it was this whole time.
I got it for you because I have them written down.
Oh yeah, one of us is a professional.
Top quality.
One of us is a professional. What's that last question?
What would you consider your GM or your player signature move?
I could have sworn that was the second half question.
I think it's a first half question.
If you want to break it up, that's fine. Because I play I've played a lot of games. So if you want, I could do GM signature move in the first half and then player signature move in the second. Or
I think that's how we'll do it. Henceforth, We should call it the indoor split.
It's the Indy 500 ruling. Let's go.
Lil Indy.
Lil
Indy.
Slim Indy on the case.
There it is. It took me everything not to ask Anita to put that on.
I mean, I could. I still can.
There's time. Okay, so I guess I will then posit to you guys. Which would you prefer, DM or player?
Let's go GM first.
Okay, so my GM rule, my signature move. I am your best friend, but I will be ruthless throughout the entire experience. One thing that I do a lot is that actually scares my players more than anything, is that when I prepare, I don't just prepare for the setting. I will prepare for exposition, because I know that there is a lot of talk about this thing is scripted and blah blah blah. I will fully admit that there are things that I do that are scripted. There are things that my players do that are never scripted. My players, not on script at all. Me, I love bringing a script. I think that's some fun shit. So for example, in the campaign that I've run for the last 5 years, when our party hit level 3 in D&D 5e is what I believe to be one of the most important levels, because that's when you start picking your subclass. That's when you start picking your specifications as to what you are. So in this instance, I had a player that said, okay, I want to be like a warlock. This is going to be my patron. Or like, I'm going to be a blood hunter, but I want like this thing. Like, I'll leave you full reign as to how to introduce it. So I ended up writing like a 700-word scene introducing that patron. That's a scripted event. That's going to be something that's going to happen. And the way that patron was introduced was by an angel showing up at first being like, hello, and I shall be your patron and everything's fine. And then a set of obsidian claws piercing through the chest of the angel from the back, slamming them down, and a big black obsidian dragon showing up being like, what the fuck's good? You're mine now. Like that kind of thing. Like, it is so much tastier to me when I can write exposition for that beforehand, so that way I can truly deliver to the players how this creature walks, how it talks, versus trying to rely on my improv skills to do that. I'm good at improv, but when I can say like in one of the most recent things that we did is that all of my players ended up experiencing nightmares. A phrase that a party member, one of my audience members, a dear friend of the show, Levi, really enjoyed from the scene that the barbarian had, is that in the barbarian's dream, a creature that they had summoned to be part of their cadre ends up turning on them, slaughtering everybody. And the phrase was, their blood was free for the air to take. That is a piece of exposition. That is a piece of exposition that you can't just improv that and hope for the best. To be able to write that down and to be able to know how to say it in a way that's truly going to like make your players feel for that. Or likewise, our paladin was the follower of Corellon. And at the very beginning, they have this dream where they're going through their past lives, and then they sit next to Corellon on a bench and they're feeding ducks next to each other. And Corellon because the way that Corellon works in my homebrew setting is that it is a mantle that is like a chosen elf every once in a while will become Corellon. And so we set it up at 3rd level that this player would eventually become the mantelpiece for Corellon, because in that moment, while they were sitting next to each other, this character whose casual name was Corey, sitting next to Corellon finishes that vision by saying, you know, they used to call me Corey too. And then like toss bread to the ducks. Shoot 12 levels and 3 years of gameplay forward, that player finally takes on the mantle of Corellon. When they do, have them go through a vision of re-watching the experience that they had at level 3, and then having them sit at that thing, feeding the ducks, sitting next to themselves, who has not seen any of the shit that they've gone through, and then in that moment narrating their dream, looking at that person saying, they used to call me Corey as well. I will be your best friend, but I will be fucking ruthless. The ruthless part, I will admit, I am a corpse kicker. I will establish that right now, because if you are an intelligent enemy and the wizard goes down, why the fuck are you going to let that wizard have the possibility of getting back up?
Yes! Yes, I feel that. I feel like we need more corpse kickers. Kick them corpses.
In a encounter that they had with an aspect of the BBEG disintegrates somebody. Okay, another player goes down. Ranger, I go to revivify. BBEG, counterspell. I have been able to counterspell a revivify before, and nothing has fueled me with more like, that's the good shit right there. Let's keep going. Like, we can still play this game. I have pulled a Philip K. Dick move on somebody before. That being my dear friend RJ, who's in chat, where his player, because he was gone for a week, his player gets kidnapped momentarily, and then they go and rescue him the next day. Fine, they bring him back. About a year of in-game time goes by since then. That player is in combat. Corpse kicker moment. Dude, like, double taps the wizard. Party realizes, oh shit, we are in too deep. They're winning. We have to leave. So they stuff the body of the paladin into their bag of holding, because it's not like they can breathe anyways right now. So they do that, and then they put the wizard over their shoulder to leave the scenario. And the last scene of that game was as they were running out, they feel their shoulder beginning to get wet, but not in a sticky wet, because the wizard was melting into snow and ice. And for the last year of in-game time, I had been running them as a simulacrum. Still letting them have all of their spell slots and everything like that, but they, as the wizard, were actually captured by evil forces that were turning them into a lich to be used against the party.
Holy shit.
I am your best friend, but I will be ruthless.
One second. Aren't you grateful that I'm not this vicious now, Anita?
You trapped me in my own sword and made me fight the last 5 bearers of it.
That's dope. I like that. Yeah, so...
What's that mean?
That's good flavor. That's a good story.
That was your story getting sick of you asking your God for help. It's just like, I'm the holy fucking Avenger. I'm all the help you need right here.
But yeah, I am a plotter. I usually will have, I describe it as spinning plates. I will usually have at least 5 plates spinning. So that way, if my players do something that they believe is unaccounted for, I either have notes or I have a good enough memory to remember, okay, like that thing will happen, sure. But know that there are other consequences that are happening in the background. And these like the world will move whether you move or not.
That's my favorite kind of GM. Like that. Yeah, I like to think of it as the chess playing GM, where when we make a move, there is another move in response that we're not aware of.
Oh yeah,
and like just that's my favorite thing. And some folks are into it, some folks not so much.
Well, it's like the difference between a Super Nintendo game and like Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Grand Theft Auto 5, you got shit that's happening all the time. Or like in Far Cry 4, for example, you would be flying and they would just be like, oh, somebody's taking over the base. Please help us. And it's like, oh, fuck you guys. I just liberated that thing. And you have to go down. But like shit's happening all the time. Whether you interact with it or not, that is your choice. Versus a Super Nintendo game where you go into town and they're sitting there doing their little idle animation. You talk to them twice and they're just like, oh, thank you for coming to town. Talk to them again. Thank you for coming to town. I love Maven Blackbriar. It's the most wonderful place to work in all of Riven. Like, that kind of thing. Like, it's...
Enchantment?
Enchantment. Give Sandal the respect he deserves. That's my boy right there. No, but like, as a GM, I think that one of the things that we need to... not necessarily destigmatize, because it's not a stigma. As the GM, you need to trust your players, and you need to trust your players to be able to roll with the punches that you are setting up. Because if you go over the line, and if you go like too far one direction or another, like every element of trust, that will be broken, and it's going to take a long fucking time to get that back. But if you respect your players and you give them exactly what they want, but maybe not necessarily the way that they asked for it, that trust is still going to run through. Versus if it's like, I want this thing. Oh, okay. Well, you don't get that thing. You actually get this other thing. Like, that feels bad. Versus, I want this thing. Okay, like, we talk about it off camera. Okay, like, what do you want? Like, do you want this patron? Do you want this specific patron? In the instance of the dragon, for example, that player was just like, I think that it would be really cool if this was the way that it happened. And then he trusted me enough to give me the room to run with it. And I think that that's really important to have between the table, to just have at the table, is the trust and willingness to present your GM, even if they are a corpse kicker, counterspell to revivify, like make you live out some terrible nightmares GM, to be able to experience all of that. You still need your players to want to show up the next week.
Normalize trust at the table.
Normalize trust at the table. Because if there is no trust at the table, if you can't trust your GM to run a game that you enjoy, to allow you agency when you need it, I don't want to be at that table. And a lot of how I GM and how I run tables is, would I want to stay here? If I was the player, would this be enjoyable for me? And that's really hard when you're the one running the game and you're the one prepping, because you can be like, oh, that twist didn't come off the way that I wanted it. I'm sure everyone had a terrible time, blah, blah. And then you talk to them later and they're like, that was like the best session of Dungeons and Dragons I've ever played. That was incredible. And you're over there like kind of having that wallow moment of just like, yeah, but like,
did they have fun though?
Exactly. And like people are crying because it was so emotional and like that sort of thing. So I think that the level of trust is very important. And I will talk about this a little bit, because I know that we'll probably need to go to break soon for bathrooms, refills, all of that sort of thing.
The humanness
of it. With exposition, the longest piece that I wrote for the campaign ended up being spoken about 20 minutes long. And that is something that was very emotional for myself. That was something that was very emotional for my party members. Several party members cried on stream during that. But afterwards, in our after show, they expressed that the reason that they were able to do that was because they felt comfortable at the table, was because they felt like what had happened, they trusted me to run the scene, and they trusted their place at the table and their knowledge that I wasn't going to pull any punches that we're going to be crossing any lines. And I think that is something, that humanness, that trust is so important as a GM.
Absolutely.
I don't think we're gonna top that as a break point. So
yeah,
this has been such a. Sorry, I'm to keep gushing. This has been such a fun conversation. We are going to be back in minutes. An accumulation of them. How many? Find out when we come back.
We'll be right back, everybody. We're going to take a break. Go get some hydration. Go be human for a little bit. Do a stretch. And we will see you very soon.
Bye. Bye.
And we're back. That one was better, less chaotic.
We do.
I'll give it to you. Okay. 7 out of 10.
That was smooth. Thank you.
7 out of 10.
Listen, I appreciate that I still have room for improvement.
You're doing great. I'm loving it here. This is great.
That's such a Canadian response to me being an asshole. I'm just glad I have room for improvement. Go fuck yourself. You knew I was being a dick.
The most American response.
It's true.
You're at least admitting that you were being a dick about it. Like, that's not very American of you.
No, that's very true.
You would have just stopped with the go fuck yourself.
Well, anyways. Welcome to the Dark Roast. We just called the second half the Dark Roast. Nothing really changes, but we do have some segments here that I am very excited to get in on. So we're just gonna jump into this motherfucking 10 toes down. So, yes.
Remember, we still have the other half of the question for the player signature move.
My player signature move. Yeah, you were the one who wanted to do it this way.
Yeah, I was getting to it.
Oh, never mind then.
No, it's fine. No, go ahead.
It's the two people with glasses that got ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. No, I'm just here. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. But seriously, go ahead. Ask the question.
To start off our second half of the Dark Roast, what would you consider your player signature move?
My player signature move, if I had to choose, would be I refuse to play classes like they are intended. I would rather play a class and base it off of something completely else. For example, one of my favorite characters was a barbarian in our Curse of Strahd campaign. But for that barbarian, I ended up going Path of the Zealot. And he started off with the acolyte background. So he was very much a religious man. He was a holy man who ended up going into Barovia. And then through that, our DM and I teamed together where he was turning into a lizard man. So that way I could use the Simic hybrid background from the Magic the Gathering Ravnica background. So I could like climb on shit. I had a tough external hide. And even though I was playing a barbarian that was meant to get like hits, I took the feat for like Magic Initiate Cleric, where like I was casting ceremony on people. Like I wanted to be a cleric. I wanted to play this barbarian like it was a cleric, or I wanted to play this barbarian like it was a paladin without having to multi-class. Later campaign, I played a druid. I chose the Circle of Stars druid. But the way that I played that druid was more like a warlock, where in order to create the change, or in order to enact the change, it wasn't that he was like paying attention to the stars. His origin story was that he was a deer, just a fucking wild animal. A comet fell to Earth, and it was a very like H.P. Lovecraft deer ends up like getting into contact with this foreign star creature that the deer only knew as Burning Star. So Hart, the name of the character, like comes in contact with this thing, turns into a wood elf with antlers. And then like that's his whole story is trying in the framing of that story, Auril, the Frost Maiden, was part of a constellation. And this was her brother Star come back to be like, okay, like you've had your fun here on the material plane, but we need to go. So my trademark move is thinking outside of the box when it comes to how I design and how I play characters. Because even though I could be the barbarian who's just like, I want to break shit and I want to do stuff, but I really like the idea of a barbarian who doesn't want to be a barbarian, and them being afraid of what they will become when they enter a rage, and having that moment of where it's like, do I let myself do this for the sake of everyone else around me, and do I forsake that part of myself? Whereas with the druid, his whole thing was that like he had to keep who he was a secret from his party members. And like when he activated Burning Star, I as a player never spoke as far as like giving that character a voice, because I wanted it to be this like other thing, this vacancy, this point of stars. And then later on, when they get to a point where Auril is near, and like as a druid, when you level up, like your star form lasts longer, that kind of thing. So I never dropped the star form when they were close to the end. And the other players are just like, is the person that we want to hear right now? Like, are we able to speak to them? And having this othered thing completely having just like, no, like I am in control now. Eddie isn't here right now, only Venom. Like that kind of thing. I love exploring elements of characters that are like that, because there's one thing to be said when it's like, I am the bravest warrior this side of the coast, and I will continue to do brave warrior things. Okay, sure. I'm gonna have fun over here with my fucked up little man, though.
I had a barbarian concept that was pretty similar to that, but it was a ritual caster instead of the magic initiate.
Mm-hmm.
And Path of the Ancestors.
Ooh.
And the backstory was that he has the stories of his clan tattooed on his back.
That's
and
sick.
The rituals of his clan tattooed on his back. And the ritual book contains the tanned back tattoos of everyone from the tribe before him.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that.
Malachi, who was metal's fuck.
That is pretty sick.
Okay. I will have one other thing about the playing characters, is they are not intended to know what I'm capable of at a table. During our Tomb of Annihilation game, we were given NPCs to control. In our final fight against Acererak, we had tricked Artist Simber to join us with the Ring of Winter, and the DM gave Artist to me. So we're in the fight with Acererak. It's in the tomb. There's like the dead god that he's fueling or whatever, and Acererak is standing on the ledge, and we walk in. He's like, you'll never fight me. And he puts a wall of force in front of us. So me, as Artist Simber on my turn, Bigby's hand, shoot it under the wall of force, push action, shove that fucker into lava. And that was the end of our Tomb of Annihilation game, was letting lava destroy this lich.
Okay, I
will play by my own rules in this game.
But I feel like that's kind of the point of this whole thing, is like to be as creative as possible. Like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like
there are GMs that have a problem with that.
Yeah,
yeah, I am very well aware of that.
But yeah, so that if anything, that is my signature as a player, is that I like looking at how to subvert the expectation that has been placed on a character class, because I think there's more fun in trying to figure out how to do that than it is to just like play the archetypical like, I have a cursed sword and this sword is cursed me.
I have the cursed sword and it was passed down to my family for the generations before me.
I'm a paladin. I have to be the party parent and be less fun.
Mm-hmm. No, best cursed sword that I ever encountered was in my my Ghosts of Saltmarsh campaign, which is now the most viewed thing on the YouTube and audio casts. One of my dear friends played a cursed dagger that had been swallowed by a slime. And the cursed dagger then gave the slime a brief element of sentience. So he was playing as a dude who looked like he was like, eventually the slime could like turn into a person. He was playing a changeling. But in all reality, he was playing the sword. He was playing this magical dagger. And that has been my favorite like magic dagger trope that has been used. And like, he wasn't like being like horrible. If anything, he was like, this slime is my son, and if anyone says anything bad about him, I will stab you myself.
Warlock patron that's a self-help coach.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Like a Tony Robbins like warlock patron. Gary V, the warlock patron. You gotta have hustle. You're not just gonna get these Eldritch Blasts. You gotta earn them.
That's just a CrossFit coach.
Oh God, that is fucked up. That kind of leads to the next question, though, which is, what is on your TTRPG bucket list? As in things to do in character and just things that you want to do at a table.
So the hardest part is that I have played I know a lot of people's bucket list is like, I want to play in a level 1 through 20 campaign. I've done it. It was very fun. I got to play with the same group of folks for like 5 years. It was wild. And then I got to GM for a different group of folks for levels 1 through 20. I think that like, as far as TTRPG bucket list, I would love to be involved in a train mystery. I want like a whodunit on the Orient Express. I think that mysteries are very difficult to pull off in TTRPGs where magic is part of the system, because you can be like, who killed you? Speak with the dead. Who killed you? It was that guy. All right, mystery solved. Like, so being at a table where that is where you aren't able to do that, not necessarily if it's not part of the system, but if there's something in place where the mystery is allowed to continue. I think that I would love to be part of a spooky whodunit.
That's
I got a way to get around that.
I was just about to say, like, having the speak with dead kind of play into the mystery.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do a train murder in a world where the victim, even after death, can snitch? Like that is an angle that would be interesting.
The easiest answer is that the murderer had a speak with dead scroll and used all 5 questions up before they even got there.
Ooh. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be fun.
How was your day? That. You feeling okay?
Man.
Just
you fucking murdered me, you dick. Well, I mean, I have to re-speak with Dead. I think each caster gets 5 questions. Is that not how it works?
I'm not sure, honestly. Let's figure it out. So I think I would love to play in a murder mystery. And as far as bucket list for what I want to do for a game, I think it just comes back to mysteries again. I think that like on my bucket list, I think that there are many mysteries that I really enjoy, and I think that you can run a very straightforward campaign. You can run a very straightforward game. You can add a game that has like nuances and levels of like, oh, but this was actually this thing over here, and like start red threading. But to have it all centered
around a mystery, like a centralized mystery, and figuring out how to make that enjoyable for players for upwards of like 8 to 10 sessions. I think that figuring out the timing and figuring out how best to do that, I think would be on my TTRPG bucket list.
All right, I'm gonna need to run a mystery for you then, because
please, I want it.
That's one of the things that I do. I do horror and I do mysteries. Actually, I feel like I do those fairly well.
Good. I'm in. If you ever need a spot at a table and my time zone is free, I'm here.
Hell yeah. The spell fails if the corpse was the target of the spell in the last 10 days.
Okay.
So then you have a red herring who's a cleric on the
Hell
train.
Yeah, okay.
Someone might have used, you can have them find conveniently an expended spell scroll. An Arcana check will tell you that it's speak with dead.
Yo, this is making me just want to play in a forensic files D&D type game where it's just like
I've run a murder mystery before. I ran at low level.
Love low level.
So it was like, I think level 2 possibly. Might have been third level. But they had one of the players had Zone of Truth, which changed the narrative a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely see that. No, the system that I want to run a mystery in is the Blade Runner TTRPG that came out from Free League.
I haven't checked that out yet, but I heard nothing but good things.
It's really cool. There is even an element in the Blade Runner TTRPG where if the player gives you the permission to do so, you can have it in the background that they were secretly a replicant, but you can choose not to tell the player. So if they're just like, yeah, you can choose like have me be a replicant or a human. So you as the GM can be like, okay, now that we're like 5 episodes in and my player is sort of like, okay, I'm probably not a replicant. You can throw that out there and be like, oh, they're actually Robot Man. Who would have thought? And I think
that's fucking baller.
It's a cyber noir TTRPG where the game itself is based not on you investigating things as a party, but you investigating things on your own, which I think is very good for creating scenes. I think that's also very good for creating like chases and that sort of thing. It's a very interesting game. I would highly recommend checking it out. And not just because I kickstarted it at the highest level that I possibly could, because I fucking love Blade Runner, but like, it's a good game.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I have not seen the original Blade Runner.
That's okay.
I've only seen the sequel, it's really fucking good.
It's really good. Ryan Gosling, just everything he does. Love him.
There hasn't been a Ryan Gosling movie that I've seen where I'm just like, this is trash.
Even The Notebook. I don't particularly like The Notebook.
I've never seen The Notebook.
That's okay. My mom said I could drink alcohol if I watched it with her. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, hit me with some mojitos. This movie's terrible.
Let's get turnt, Mom.
Yeah, let's get turnt, Mom. No, it's so the way that I got into Blade Runner was I wanted to see 2049 because it was going to be like it was coming out and it looked really good. Never seen Blade Runner before. So Monday of that week, I watched Blade Runner, the director's cut. Then on Wednesday, I watched all of the like anime shorts that they had coming out. And then on Friday, I went and saw 2049. So that entire week was just dedicated
indoctrination to Blade Runner.
Oh my God. And now I'm just like, oh, it's so good. Love Blade Runner. Like,
it's art.
It really is though. Yeah. Like as far as the performances go and everything.
The movie was so good it made me tolerate what's his face?
Leto?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jared Leto, I think I do not
cast it perfectly in that movie.
Perfectly. They originally wanted that to be David Bowie. They were gonna have David Bowie be that role, but then obviously that was not able to happen. But so my favorite thing between the two Blade Runner movies is that in the and it all comes down to the piece of classical music that is played in Blade Runner 2049 when the not Tyrell Corp but like Jared Leto's company or whatever, when they power on, the piece of classical music that belongs to is Peter and the Wolf. And Peter and the Wolf is based on a boy who cries wolf. He ends up going out into the woods, and then he ends up capturing the wolf and then parading the wolf through town while holding him like on like a stilt, like held between him and some of his other forested friends. Now, what's really interesting about that is that in the first Blade Runner movie, the replicants refer to them like they are referred to as wild animals. They are referred to as being like wolves among men, like, or like wolves among the sheep, like that kind of thing. And you even have Roy Batty like kind of like lumbering around almost in a like werewolf like stance in the final scene where he is chasing Harrison Ford's character around until eventually he like cries out in a almost howl like sense and then kind of confers that like we are being used, like we were being taken for lesser, like that kind of thing. So then transporting that into the new one where now replicants are just everyday, like, oh, we can use them however we want, we can do this however we do. And the song choice of Peter and the Wolf being that the wolf has been captured and tamed and is now being paraded, I think is just such a beautiful piece of background nuance that unless you know the piece of classical music would be entirely lost on you. But if you watch the original Blade Runner, listen to Peter and the Wolf in the midst, and then go and watch 2049, I think that you will have a very different viewing experience of the franchise.
You kind of poke your finger on something that I have been noticing, which is there's something magical about art when you can feel that the people creating it gave an absolute fuck about every aspect of it. Like, that's something that it requires so much in context to understand, but the person creating it cared enough to do it.
Oh yeah. No, like when I saw 2049 like in theaters and they started playing Peter and the Wolf, there was a single sound in that theater, and that was me going, whoa, like pointing at the screen, like knowing what that was. And like other people I'm with, just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you, I'll tell you later, it's actually really cool.
Like, I mean, it kind of just taking this onto like a topic that I brushed on before. Like, I think we're as consumers, we have been given so much that is just obviously meant to make a buck, and that's kind of it. Like, yeah. It hurts me to say this, but the MCU exists solely to pump out money. Like, I feel like the love is gone. But like when you talk about Blade Runner and you look at games like Baldur's Gate, which was in beta for like years. And people were complaining about it being in beta for years until it came out, and then we all saw what happened. It's just getting me back to the point of like, maybe we should maybe having a new Marvel movie every year, and having a new Assassin's Creed every year, and having new content every year, maybe that has made us jaded. And like, we need more art that people get to take the time to care about and create.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree on that. I think that there is something that is lost when so much media is created, and that then you get that gatekeepy feeling mixed with FOMO of like, oh, well, I thought you cared about the Marvel universe. What do you mean you haven't seen this spin-off of a side character from Ant-Man that had 8 episodes on Disney Plus? I thought you liked Star Wars. What do you mean you haven't seen the 3rd episode of The Mandalorian after watching the Book of Boba Fett, now that the series Ahsoka is on, now that we are getting ready to release? Then it's like there's too much that is being milled out. And I think that a really good drawing point to that, in its in like the original sense, not original, but is the idea of pulp, or in video games we call them shovelware. where it's just like, oh, we need a game for this cartoon that's maybe going to get one season. Overall production time is going to be like 6 months. So from like concept to when it's being made. Like that's how far you have till code complete. And I think that there's something to be said for pulp in that, like, I love Riverdale. I'm not even gonna lie. I think that Riverdale is a really fun show. I like MTV's Teen Wolf. I think that it's a really fun show because when I'm watching it, I know that I can just turn my brain off and I can consume that, and nobody in that series, nobody in that show is being like, no, but this is actually high art though. And I think that, like, no one's having more fun than them though. Like the cast of Riverdale, no one's having more fun than them. And I will die on that hill because like they're like in season 7 and they're like, oh, but what if Cheryl used witch powers to stop a meteor? But in order to do that, she had to send everybody back to the past in 1942. And it's like, you're 7 seasons in. What the fuck is happening with the show anymore? And it doesn't matter because it's stupid. And everyone knows that it's stupid. So we can all brush past it. But when you get...
gonna bring up the meteor.
Wait, time out. Hold on one second.
We're
not just gonna skip past that. Babe, do you watch Riverdale?
No, but Simon has mentioned this before.
Meteor's great. It is after Archie and Jughead are both dead, and then they have a crossover episode with Sabrina the Teenage Witch where she teaches folks how to use magic, and then they bring the
Time out. Yeah. There's a lot that just happened just in that sentence.
I love Riverdale.
They killed Archie and Jughead?
Yeah.
On a show called Riverdale.
Yeah. It's not Archie. Yeah, it's, as RJ points out in chat, it's low stakes. Like, it's bad. It's bad TV, but sometimes you really need to enjoy bad TV to realize, like, okay, watch an episode of Riverdale and then look at any script you've ever written and realize they got funding. They got renewed for 7 seasons. No way in hell is the script that you wrote that bad.
Oh my God.
Like, for me, like, that's always a point of just like, nothing I do could ever be that terrible, but they're getting money. So what's stopping me from pitching my thing and trying to get funding that way, you know?
I have a very weird relationship with Archie and all that stuff. Like, my house life was not great, and like we had just a bunch of like old comics, and most of them were like old Archie comics. So I just sit in my room reading Archie, like wishing I was Archie, because man, Veronica and Betty, they could both get it. And then like, well, honestly, the plot of Archie was always, is he gonna go out with Betty? Is he gonna go out with Veronica? Or is he gonna go out with this random third person that comes into town for some reason?
Cheryl
But that
Blossom.
gives Betty... That's the thing, though, is that in Riverdale, it's a murder mystery to start it off.
What?
Yes,
Yeah.
Jason Blossom has been killed, and it's up to the gang to find out who the true killer was.
And there's a cult.
There is a cult. The cult's in season 3. That's very fun. There's actually like 3 cults that are happening simultaneously in season 3. It's very confusing. But again, like kind of pulling back. Those shows we all recognize are not art. They are not some high thing. And like in recent in like the last year, I know that Martin Scorsese has been getting a lot of flack for him being like, the Marvel movies are pulp. They're not high art. And you get all these people being like, well, did you see Avengers Endgame, though? Did you see the Spider-Man? Martin Scorsese, director of all of these, like, high-profile films. What did you think of Spider-Man? He's like, I don't care. And they're like, what do you mean you don't care? It's high art. No, it's pulp. It's pop. And, like, we went from a point where pop culture and what is considered popular is now being considered high art. And that's fine for a lot of things. But I think to hold it to the same standard, like if you were to say, like, what is a better movie? Spider-Man Homecoming or Whiplash from 2014 starring J.K. Simmons? They are 2 completely different genres. They are two completely different things, and one of them was made to express something, and the other was made to frame Spider-Man in a very cool light. I don't mind Spider-Man being framed in a cool light. I think that Spider-Man, I think, what was it? Homecoming? Was that the one with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio? I think that's a great movie. I think that's very fun.
Far From Home.
Far From Home. Thank you. I think that that's a great movie, but I don't think that I would hold it into the same category as something like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, I don't think that I would hold those two in the same bar, or like Parasite. That was the Academy Award winner in 2020, I think 2020 or 2021. They were the Academy Award winner. I don't think that I would put them in the same thing because they're not on the same caliber. And I think that the lack of media literacy that we have is tied to that we are getting companies that are showing us a shiny thing that they want us to buy and telling us that it is art. And again, I'm not discrediting the artistic value or the artistic work that goes into all of that. I love comics, big comic book fan. But I think that people need to be realistic as to what they're consuming. And I think that to really understand that, we need to regain that media literacy, because like, for example, like Harry Potter movies, like they're okay, I guess, but like when you have people being like, they're the greatest, these are the best movies, like I think that that's the other thing, is that people get the real cognitive dissonance between what is your favorite thing and what is actually like a good piece of media. Like, I could say like, oh, Riverdale is my favorite, but I understand Riverdale is bad. I could say
no, I think there's a lot of people that don't quite realize that you can like something, you can think that it's a fine piece of media, and you can still be critical of it.
Yeah.
And people take it very personally when someone does criticize it.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of that media literacy is understanding that not everything is for everyone, and the ability to say like, yeah, like that is good. Or what is it? It's a quote from Top Gear. It's like, I realize that this is great, and I realize that is good. However, I like this one though, and it's like a really piece of shit car. Like, I think it's that kind of thing where people don't have. Everyone is so engrossed in their hot takes, and they're like, oh, but it needs to be this. Like I think that we've lost the ability to just be like, that really wasn't for me. And be able to just casually say that it wasn't for them and then move on, versus trying to convince everyone around you that they are wrong and that you were right.
Well, because they mistake liking a piece of media for having a personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I kind of appreciate that you brought Spider-Man up as an example. Having just recently played Spider-Man 2 myself, it's kind of funny how, to me at least, I think the movies are I wouldn't classify that as any type. Well, I wouldn't classify it as art. It's pulp.
Yeah,
it's fun. The game, on the other hand, though, I think they utilize the medium that they're using in such a way that it does lift it into art. And and again, it kind of goes back to, you can feel when the artist cares, and they do interesting, like, I'm trying to do this without spoiling anything, but the artists care. And I think even from playing the first Spider-Man, spoilers for the first Spider-Man, they took a character that we're all used to, that we're seeing 100 times over, and asked, what does this character look like grown up? What does this individual look like as an adult who's been doing this for a while? And what new lessons can he learn? And they don't, and you have to earn that, like, I don't know. It's just,
yeah,
same characters, same franchise, different mediums, but one I would classify as art and one that I wouldn't. It's just something that I've been thinking about these last couple of days ever since playing it. But
yeah, no, I mean, it all comes down to the artistic voice and the freedom that the person behind whoever is creating that source of media is allowed to have. So like, I know that it's recently come to light, for example, that the Marvel TV shows don't have show Bibles. They don't have like an overseeing showrunner. Instead, it's just executives making the call as to what is going on in any given point of time throughout the show, because they're
tell though.
Yeah. Versus something where it is like the Spider-Man game. There is a game Bible. There is an understanding of who these characters are, of what they need to accomplish, where they need to go. And I think that it's very telling when the people who pick up that source of media are able to understand that source of media. A really good example of that, I think, as well, is CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red created The Witcher 3. I think Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of the most perfect pieces of like hybridization of books and video games that I've seen in a long time, that I've played in a long time. And then when CD Projekt Red created Cyberpunk, and it was a dumpster fire on its initial go, like you could tell that they were fans of Cyberpunk, but they didn't understand a lot of the core concepts behind what makes Cyberpunk what it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's it's a very strong differential. Same thing with like Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, where it's just like he understands that Peter Parker's, to me anyways, the more interesting of Peter and Spider-Man. And versus something like Into the Spider-Verse, where they are like in that first one of my favorite, like that to me was art, like watching Into the Spider-Verse, because not only did they create their own animation engine to be able to use for that movie, where it's like Miles is starting out the series at a like 30-second frame rate, and
I was just about to mention
as he gains his abilities and everything, he starts operating at his own, like at a much higher frame rate, and you can tell that he's gaining confidence because of that. I think that level of nuance and that ability to really like have the freedom to be able to tell the story in the exact way that you want it, versus the way that companies are like, look man, we told you 3 times you have to release this game in Q1. And then being like, oh, fuck, okay, well, we released a shitty product and now people are mad at us. But don't worry, 4 years later, we'll release version 2, which is the finished version of the... Like, no, man. Like, you need to have the ability to be able to create something and pull off of all of the sources that you have, and then the freedom to be able to create that. And I don't think that artists, and I don't think that a lot of the artistic medium that we know of today really gives that freedom. I don't think that creators, I don't think that artists are given the same level of freedom that they were previously, where even if it was something bad like Pumpkinhead, for example, like that was somebody's vision. Was it a good vision? Not really. It was a pretty okay movie, but it was still like, you could tell that there's at least some love that's put into it. Like you can always watch a bad movie and find one moment where you're like, oh, okay, somebody gave a shit about this scene, like specifically, and you can move on past that. Whereas if you watch like 8 episodes of Loki season 2, and it's like, oh, okay, like maybe somebody gave a shit about this.
Somebody tried real hard to get their
vision ideas out there, but it was roadblocked by shareholders and a lot of that corporatization. And I think that that's really what it comes down to, as to why we don't get the level of quality out of things that we really want to anymore. Is capitalism bad? Corporations are bad and are trying to chokehold your art into something that they think that you want. Very good example of that is Magic the Gathering in its current state. Magic the Gathering, very healthy game for a long period of time. Hasbro ends up like getting their fingers into the pot, and now in the last like 2 weeks, like maybe 2 months, they have announced like 9 different sets that are all going to be coming out, and they're like their version of the MTG multiverse, like MTG already had a multiverse. I don't need Jurassic Park in this game. I don't need The Walking Dead in this game. I don't need The Lord of the Rings. Yes, are these things cool? And I'm sure that they are for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it ruining the experience for the people that respected your game and your decisions from before? Yes. And they really had to make a choice whether they wanted to have a fully fleshed out game or they wanted more money. If you're dealing with shareholders, obviously you go with money. And that's really sad to me.
You know, that's kind of the cycle of everything under capitalism, which is a small passion project starts, gains tractions, gains fans, you know, who support this artistic vision. Mm-hmm. It catches on and becomes popular. And due to its popularity, it then has to crank out more and more and more content.
Yeah.
Removing the artistic spirit that drew people to it in the first place, until eventually everybody ends up walking away because it's no longer what drew them to it in the first place.
Or people see it as a money-making thing and they don't see it as anything past that. Case in point, the website Bandcamp. Bandcamp was like the central hub for indie artists where they could put up their music, charge a nominal fee if they wanted to, or even post it for free under a pay what you want model. And it had a really good payout for its creators, like for the musicians that were using Bandcamp. Last year, Epic Games, video game company, acquired Bandcamp. They bought Bandcamp for no real foreseeable reason. It just looked like, oh, Bandcamp makes money. Epic Games likes money. Purchase Bandcamp. About 2 weeks ago, they sell Bandcamp after laying off 50% of its staff because they needed to make cuts as a company-wide initiative. But that's going to hurt the indie music industry so drastically, and they don't even care because they only see it as a source of income. They only see the number value associated with it and not the cultural value and not the widespread value that it brings to people that aren't on the shareholder team. As an aside, I love their rising sense of class consciousness. I am on the card socialist since I was like 18, so I'm very happy to see everybody now getting on board with saying "fuck capitalism." It's been really cool.
It really has been dope, and you know, bringing all of this around, to TTRPG, Dungeons and Dragons. Like it's the biggest boy in the room right now, and it's gotten extraordinarily popular. It's got what is bound to be the game of the year in terms of video games. It had a movie that did not bust.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and then we saw the whole Wizards OGL fiasco, which to me was like,
I gave myself stress gingivitis because of that. Like, I'm not even kidding. I woke up one morning in the height of that and my mouth just started bleeding. Like, I was so stressed out that my gums were experiencing gingivitis.
I mean, it's just, we're living in a world where the more you love something, the less it is that thing you love.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wonder, you know, because we always say play things other than D&D. Like, I don't know. My nightmare is like Powered by the Apocalypse gets as big as D&D, and then they start getting shitty, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think that a lot of that also comes down to, core and the core concepts of the company and the vision of the company. Because if you can keep, and that's something that I have always believed in, which is that even if you are a small company, if you are able to pay your bills, if you are able to create the things that you want to create and afford the people that work for you, I think that there's something to be said with not needing to get bigger. Right. And then there's like the Kickstarter dilemma, right? Where you're like, I only need $1,000 for this TTRPG supplement. Holy shit, I brought in $1 million. yes, supplements, other things, and you see people like explode so quickly, and then they burn out because they can't keep up with their own production schedule because they weren't accustomed to it. So like with D&D, for example, right now we're going through product bloat, where we're getting like 5 to 6 supplements a year when originally we were only getting like 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that the quality is decreasing over time because people are rushing it and people are churning that out. That's why we get things like the Rick and Morty box set. That's why we get things like the Stranger Things box set, and we get those tie-ins for things that could utilize the system, but ultimately are just bloatware. Like, it's just additional stuff for you to buy to support this thing. And I think that that's one of the things that Powered by the Apocalypse, that other systems like that have really kind of honed in on, is that they can really, because like with Powered by the Apocalypse, because it's such a free system, they can release however much that they want and it'll never feel like bloatware, because you get to say like, okay, well, at least in this system, like this version of Powered by the Apocalypse, I'm a superhero. Oh, and this one, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh, in this system, or like this version, I'm playing Root, the tabletop game, but now it's like its own thing. And you can make it so, you can change the variety of it. Whereas D&D is so hard coded in what it is and what it needs to be. It is so streamlined that the only thing that you can really play with Dungeons and Dragons is more Dungeons and Dragons. But because of that, you can sit at a table at like, again, like an Adventurers League kind of thing, and just say like, oh, well, at least I know what I'm playing. I don't have to do any extra research. If you know D&D, you can just sit and play D&D. There's no like additional, like requirement for what you need to know. Whereas Apocalypse Keys, again, like you can know the like, oh, okay, like 7 and above. But like, for example, Apocalypse Keys is a great example of that, because it is like, oh, you rolled too well. Well, now a bad thing is going to happen. Oh, you rolled like super low. A bad thing, like a lesser bad thing will happen. And
I rolled really well. I rolled too
really well. That sucks. Like, and that is one of those things where like Powered by the Apocalypse and the Fate core system and other things like that are able to change their system enough that it can spawn multiple things that people will be interested in. Whereas D&D has to really try with marketing to get you to want to play in its system.
I think that there's a difference, and this is something that we run into a lot with even video games, the idea of games as a service versus games as an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I really want games as a service to die. I want it to die a painful death. We're triggering a rant here. You know what? Fuck it. I'm diving into this.
I just ranted about capitalism. You go off, man.
Games as a service makes it so that the most easily the most slam dunk games get tripped up when you try to monetize every aspect of it. Yep. Games of a service quite literally is, let's make a game, right? And then let's hack it to pieces to sell you, like, I'm going to give you a car, right? But I'm not going to sell you the tires. I'm not going to sell you the steering wheel. I'm not going to sell you the pedals that you need. Like, it's taking something that's whole and destroying it. And, you know, the entry price will get you barely enough to do anything. Like, the heart of this rant comes from the Avengers game. The Avengers game.
Yep. Okay.
It's so. Right now, not right now, but when the Avengers game came out, everybody was hype on the MCU. This was a slam
drop so quickly in price.
Dunk. Quite literally, if they just took Ultimate Alliance or Ultimate Alliance 2, which was the lesser of the two,
it was a great game still,
and just spruced it up, we would still be playing that game right now. There's something to be said about being able to play a game on your couch with your friends. There's something to being able to just go online and play with your friends. You want to know how I know that there's a hunger and lust for it? Again, look at Baldur's Gate. If you did a quarter of what Baldur's Gate did and just slapped the Avengers on it, it would be Game of the Year. But Easy. Instead, what you did was you took the basic concept of Ultimate Alliance and you said, how can we sell every part of this experience? And here's the thing that truly breaks my heart. They've given up on Marvel's The Avengers. Like they're not working on it anymore. They're done with it. And so they said, you know what? Because we're done with it, everything that's in the shops, we're just going to give you. Have fun. If you play Marvel's The Avengers now, it's actually kind of fun. It's actually fun because all the power-ups and stuff that you needed to not get your ass kicked by every fucking bad guy in the game, you just have now. So now I get to actually feel like an Avenger instead of just getting my ass kicked because I didn't pay $30 goddamn for a bunch of unnecessary accessories.
Disgusting.
To push in on your car analogy a little bit, there's no problem with having additional features so long as the car runs. Like, you want those heated seats? If you gotta pay extra for the heated seats, pay extra for the heated seats. But if it's something that's integral to making the car fucking work.
Like, and the thing is, I promise you, we don't have a problem paying for downloadable content. We don't. I hate downloadable content, but if it's good, if it's worth it, then I'll pay for it. But what Games as a Service is them going, we don't want to work to make downloadable content. So how about we take core things that are necessary for the game and sell that as downloadable content? I fucking hate Destiny 2 because I hate Destiny and Destiny 2 because Destiny did so well. Everybody's like, we've got to make Games as a Service. And all of these games fucking flop. Does anybody remember Anthem? Does anybody remember Anthem? Anthem was supposed to be a big fucking deal. It's made by BioWare, and like after coming off of Dragon Age Inquisition. Hot studio, people love it, and Anthem looks fucking badass.
Yeah, it's Halo killer.
And you know what? Anthem probably is a good game underneath all of the shit, but we'll never know because nobody was willing to pay to figure out. I don't want to pay to figure out if this game sucks or not. If that's what Games as a Service is.
So two things. One, do you remember the game Evolve?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember on Evolve's launch when you needed a legitimate spreadsheet to find out what was actually being included in the 9 different legendary monster killer, blah, 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 like those different packs?
Yeah.
Because they marketed it as this thing, but then you literally couldn't play the game. Second rant. Did you ever play Gears of War 4?
No.
Okay. Did you ever play Halo 5?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the card system that they had in Halo 5 where you could unlock armor and weapons and stuff like that? So there was a period of time where I was a games tester, and I was a games tester specifically hired through Microsoft. I was a contractor through Microsoft. My job on Gears of War 4 was the microtransaction portion. My job was making sure that the card pack functionality worked. In Halo 5, you're looking at one of the guys who was responsible for testing card pack openings. It was my job 8 hours a day to make sure microtransactions worked. And I have never felt more just bad, big yuck as a whole. That was bad. I ended up leaving that job later, non-voluntarily. I got let go because of budget cuts and that sort of thing. But then I worked testing Amazon products for a hot second. I tested an Alexa-enabled microwave for like 6 months, something like that. I hated that job, but staring at a like Gears of War 4-pack open. Oh, there's still no rares in this. Like 10 packs in, file it as a bug, and then be like, I guess we'll adjust the drop ratios. Like learning from a developer side what they were getting pushed to do to force those in, because card pack like microtransactions were a hot thing on the gamer market at the time.
I mean,
down.
It killed what could have been so many. I truly believe with my whole heart, Anthem probably kicked ass. Anthem probably kicked ass. We'll never know. Evolve was Dead by Daylight before DBD came out.
Yeah.
Imagine.
It was super cool.
Like, Evolve could have. Evolve could have been what Dead by Daylight is for kaiju and monsters.
That's what I got into it for.
But we have to bury it with micro fucking transactions like that. It's so stupid. It's so. Let's take
broke too.
Yeah, let's take great games and fucking nuke them. Like, it's so like I don't care. Look, listen, I don't care that the games have microtransactions, because if I see a microtransaction, I'll just fucking walk away.
Yeah,
that don't hurt me none. What kills me is that could have been my favorite game had you not done that.
Yeah,
that's the thing that upsets me.
Don't lock core features behind money after I've already paid for the game. It's a simple concept.
Yeah. But not simple to people who are looking at it as, again, instead of the art that it is, they're looking at it as the money that it can give you.
Yep.
And that's capitalism in a nutshell. It's just, let's ruin everything. Like, it ruins. There's not a thing that exists right now that capitalism hasn't ruined. Food? We don't need to talk about how food has been ruined. I just have my mind blown consecutively. That's not because of capitalism, but capitalism is why I thought blue raspberry was a thing. So fuck you, capitalism, for that. You want to talk about the healthcare industry? We all know that's fucked. Like, everything is fucked because rich people want to get richer, and I'm sick of it. Just let us have something.
But how will that make me money?
Right? I think that this might be actually a pretty good segue into what we like to call petty prime time.
Oh, yes. Petty prime time is where you subtweet in real life. Oh boy, you might want to start this one because I got
a couple.
Spice. Okay, go for it.
You can't go off about cancel culture being a thing when a person that was actively canceled is doing a speech on cancel culture at a prestigious university. If you were canceled, why do you have that access to that platform still? Anyways.
I hurt inside thinking about things like that. I mean, it's like, again, like if cancel culture is successful, then why do the people who quote unquote get canceled just come back with somehow a bigger following? Or like a very good example of that, like if we agree as a group to cancel them, why are we still giving them the time of day? I want to say like 4 years ago, Dice Camera Action, the Wizards of the Coast official actual play, ended up having to do a hard stop because one of the people on the stream ended up getting canceled in relation to actions with another member of the cast. So no more of that show. So that content creator, Pro Jared, ends up releasing an apology video that he monetized. It does not matter if they get canceled, because it's the same idea of all press is good press, especially in today's current climate where every click generates them money. So even if it's just like, oh, such and such, they're a bad person, they're like, yeah, but you're still talking about me. Like, as long as I am in that social sphere, it's fine. Honestly, we just need to bring back boycotting. We need to bring back successful boycotts, and we need to bring back successful social ostracization. That's the correct phrase for it.
I think we need to bring back defenestration.
Yes, toss those fuckers out of windows. No, the original boycott took place in Ireland because there was a landlord during the famine that was going to be charging people more money in the midst of the famine. So a bunch of his workers surrounded his house and prevented him from leaving and prevented anyone from going to talk with him. That was their whole thing. Like, if you're going to be a dick, you're not going no place. And you know what? It worked. Because a man needs to eat.
I think I read, and I could be wrong about this, but there was a practice in some ancient society where, yes, it was in ancient Athens. Ostracism was the process by which any citizen, including political leaders, could be expelled from the city-state for 10 years. Once a year, ancient Athenian citizens would nominate people they felt threatened democracy because of political differences, dishonesty, or just general dislike. So once a year, everybody just votes for somebody they think sucks.
Yeah, like,
and then they get kicked out for 10 years.
Bring it back.
If that's our 1 year the purge happens, but it's getting rid of shitty people from our general spaces, I'm for it, man. Like, I'll sign up. I'll vote.
Yeah, I would love to bring that practice back. Mike, you know what? I've got two. My first one's not gonna be very subtle.
Okay.
Hey, gamers, you know how all these AAA titles keep coming out and they suck, right? But then a game will be in closed beta for 10 years or 3 years or 4 years, and you complain and you call it a scam, and you're like, this is taking too long and it's not real, and we'll never actually get to play Star Citizen. No, fuck you guys. All right. Y'all have been complaining. Y'all called this scam Citizen for fucking years. And you know what you get when a AAA fucking developer tries to do the same thing? You get Starfield. And it sucks. It sucks. Todd Howard lied to us. He sent us another broken game. And it'll be great in 2 years once the modders fix it. But maybe, just maybe, why would y'all shut the fuck up and let motherfuckers cook? All right? The longer the cooking, the better the meal. And I'm sick of chefs in the kitchen having to rush the meal because you motherfuckers got no patience.
I will create a small a small argument against the let them cook. Duke Nukem Forever. It took 15 years development cycle, and it was still.
But they weren't cooking the whole time. They were trying to find the kitchen to cook in. All right, here's the caveat. Okay. If they provide you samples of what they've cooked up, and you're like,
give me some appetizer.
It's good, but it needs a little bit more sugar. You let that motherfucker cook. But if they're 15 years and they're and you're like, can I get a sample of what you're cooking? And they go, you don't got nothing. You call that motherfucker a scam. But if the chef is in the kitchen and he's letting you lick the whisk so you can taste the pudding, and it's It's good pudding, but it needs more sugar. You shut the fuck up and you let him cook. Thank you.
You're welcome. I guess I'll use my soapbox. It's something that I've talked about a little bit before. Man, I'm tired of seeing people say that they have a hot take on something. I'm so tired. You don't have a hot take. You have an opinion. Your hot take is not different than what other people have been saying. You're just trying to get the clicks by calling it a hot take. I guarantee you saying hot take, I think that like My Neighbor Totoro is a little slow at times. That's not a hot take. That's just the movie is a little bit slow. Like you could say hot take, like I think that this game is broken or this scene was that it's not a hot take. That's your opinion. And your opinion honestly is not as hot as you think that it is. I'm just tired of seeing the inflammatory clicks on Twitter.
I fucks with this one. I like that. I like this. I like this petty prime time.
It's not a hot take, man. It's really not. Especially if it's like Final Fantasy VII, Part 1. What are they gonna do? Make a Part 2 and a 3? Like you can't say that's a hot take. You looked at a news article that said that Square Enix was going to separate this into 3 games, and saying that you don't like that is not the hot. It's not a hot take. It's not even a cold take. That's just you saying, like, repeating what you read.
That's barely a take, honestly.
That's barely a take at all.
It's a take in that you took that information and then posted it somewhere else.
Just removed the watermark and called it your own.
God, that's a whole nother petty prime time. Well, I'm not gonna do that one. But
next time.
Here is my second one.
Yeah.
Hey, LA TTRPG folks, come here for a second. Stop. Just fucking stop. Okay, just because you have high production value, just stop. Just knock it off. Cut it out. All right, you know what I'm talking about. Stop it. You're not the first to do it. You're not even the best at it because it's got. In order to be the best, it has to be sustainable. You understand? Y'all keep going hard, but it looks pretty, but that doesn't mean it's sustainable. Invitation to the party. If you don't know what I'm talking about, like they had the backing of G4. That didn't. So like, just cut it out. Cut it out. Stop it. Okay, that's it.
Worth it.
We feel lighter.
I feel good. I might get a couple of messages about that last one.
Who cares?
I'm sick of it though. I mean, your farts don't smell that great. I promise.
Their smug levels are off the charts.
It's getting kind of fucking ridiculous at this point. Just stop.
It's true though. It's so true.
Just are we all getting a little sick and tired of it though? Like, is it just me? Am I the only one? Okay, I'll
No.
We're gonna revolutionize. No, you're not. Stop. Cut it out.
I don't think you understand. This is 4 white guys sitting at a table, run by a white guy GM. But don't worry, the setting that they are playing in is Asia, and they're all playing very, very, very blatant caricatures.
Hey, what do the white folks has dyed hair, so it counts as diversity? Stop. Just cut it out.
No, it's fine though. It's pink, and like he does something fun with his beard. You don't know him like we know him. 5 months later, guaranteed. So we might have had some problematic experiences with our table. We are sorry, and we will work better as stewards of the game.
Okay. Yeah, this is also he got my second one. A group of white male voice actors sitting around a table playing Dungeons and Dragons has been done before.
What?
It doesn't... You're not new and exciting because you're British. That's it. That's all.
This is fun. I like this.
Yeah. This has been a fun Friday, right?
Yeah, RJ, heard chef.
Hi, AJ.
All right, so that's gonna bring us to our own confessions. Well, this is where we're gonna confess some things here. This is our tabletop confession.
We are not perfect.
Yes, we also have things that we need to work out. So for TTRP Geek Confessional, this is where if you have a habit that is maybe not the best at a table, this is where you can present it. And I do have a confession, so here we go. I like exploring what upsets my characters. It maybe I could play happier characters, I guess, but I kind of like exploring anger, cause I have a hard time understanding it. So like I just explore it through my characters, and you know what? That can be a bummer sometimes. So my confession is that I need to make more light characters, even though I like playing my angry boys. So now, this is where the two of you can give me a penance. So Anita, we'll start with you. What is my penance for playing angry boys?
You are going to play. I mean, the advice that I'm going to give you is that I'm not even going to say that you're going to play like a silly goofy boy. A silly, goofy, happy-go-lucky character. I'm going to say you're going to play a character. You're going to explore... I want you to explore the depths of despair, but to tint that with a little bit of hope. I want you to play a hopeful character.
Ugh. Okay.
Even though, like, it's like a little sad, but a hopeful character.
Okay. I will take your penance and sin no more. You got a penance for me, Endor?
Hail Abria.
Hail Abria. And with your spirit. I think that for your penance, I think that to say that you only play angry characters, or that you have a tendency to lean towards angry characters because you like exploring the space, with that and what that emotion entails, I think that it does you a disservice to describe it as just anger. I think that your penance from me is to force yourself to realize that anger is not a flat emotion. That anger comes from anguish, that anger comes from pain, from a lack of understanding, from the infringement of your joy from other people. I think that trying to understand anger is a losing battle, but to understand what has been making you angry and why that makes you angry, I think is a much more noble quest. So that is my penance, is that I would like for you to explore why your characters are angry or what is driving them to that point rather than exploring the anger itself.
How dare you have such a fire answer to that?
That was a wonderful answer.
Oh, Sam! Hey!
Hey, Raiders!
Welcome in, Raiders from the Lovely. It's good to see you again.
I like that penance, though. All right. Penance. Well, that has been my confession. Who would like to go next and confess their TTRPG sins?
I'll go.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah. So my sins, as far as TTRPG sins, is that I will get lost in my own narrative. In that sense where I will think about what it is that I believe my players want and will try and surprise them with it versus conferring with them with if that's what they want or if that's what they need. So I have presented things to people that in one of my first ever experiences GMing at a home game, I misread a character entirely and attempted to give them an item in a situation that I thought would be helpful. And that ended up causing the player to leave the table. And so that is something that still weighs very heavily on me, is knowing that for that player, for that adventure, I was that guy. And it's still a hard thing to think about, even 5-6 years later.
Okay. As long as you didn't make that player their own dad.
No.
All right. My penance to you. One, you let your players know when you're getting lost in the narrative. Either above table or in game. I always like to have almost like a GM proxy in my games to let players know what I as a GM am thinking in game, so that when they respond as their character, it can kind of realign me with what they're expecting or what they're wanting. So my penance to you will be to have a GM proxy that can inform the players of when you're getting lost in the narrative.
Okay. I like it. Wrote it down.
You got a penance, Anita?
I think yours is very good. A GM proxy is very helpful. I think that this is a job for regular player check-ins. Not even just for Stars and Wishes, because sometimes Stars and Wishes can miss something, or having an open line of communication, or even bringing on board a dramaturge to your game. Someone who you can bounce those ideas off and be like, am I getting too lost in the sauce here? Or can you help ground this a little bit more with the performance that we have for this game?
I like both of these.
That's my suggestion.
These are both good. I accept the penance.
Sam says, I admit I struggle with GM proxy characters from time to time. I'm inclined to trust whatever they say because it's seemingly coming through the GM, but I also want to treat them like a character. So sometimes not taking them at their word is the narratively correct thing. In that case, I would add a dash of above table as well.
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, the reason that this character is asking this is because I'm generally lost. So now that we're above table, you can tell me directly, and then we can still have that character interaction. And so your character can reinforce what the player said in the way that the character would say it. So I think you kind of get an added benefit of doing a touch of both.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We do love a good, okay, above table, here's what's going on.
Yeah. That
leaves
us with one sin. What is your sin?
I get upset when I feel like my hard work goes to waste. And what I mean by that is, state your sin. What I mean by that is, I am a chronic under-preparer for my sessions. I wait to the last minute. And one of the main reasons why I feel I do that is because when I actually do take the time to prepare, either we wind up having to cancel the game entirely, or the thing that I had prepped for is no longer valid because a specific key portion of the narrative goes away. There's no way for me to do B because player A didn't show up and it's tied to them. And that upsets me and leads me to not prepare as a result. Like, fuck it, let's improv. That's my
I've got one for this. I actually got super good TTRPG advice from somebody that absolutely is not interested in TTRPGs at all. I was kind of complaining to a friend of mine about, like, you know, I fucking built this house of cards for the players and they're doing everything they can to walk away from it, and I can't just pick it up and move it because they fucking walked away from it. And my friend went, "You said a GM is God, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can't you turn off physics or something?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? It's like, why can't you move the house of cards? You control everything in the world, right?" I was like, shit. So I say all that to say this. If you've prepared something and you're super excited for it and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be so cool," but my players are walking away from it, you can move it. Like, the context of which that thing exists are yours to alter. So even if this was designed for player A, but player A didn't show up that day, you can still put the party through it. Maybe they get some insight into player A while player A is not available. So they go through the adventure that was meant for that player, and now they're a little bit more aware.
Ooh, okay.
Without giving too much away.
Give them so like just a little bit of a sneak look at behind the peeky peek. I don't know.
Yeah, just always understand that you are it. Yeah, I try.
No, that's the motto of this channel now. The sneak and the peeky peek.
I feel dirty every time I hear that. Like, I don't know why, but it feels like a violation.
You just called me a slur.
How dare! I'll never come back for this again. Oh no, just remember that you are in control of the world and the story, and that there is no wasted motion.
Yeah, I think so my offer of penance comes at comes with some pre-qualifying questions. So you said that you'd find yourself not prepping so much for games. Do you find yourself procrastinating a whole lot? Yeah. ADHD solidarity. Procrastinators will unite, like, tomorrow, maybe the next day.
Tomorrow doesn't work for me.
Fuck. You know what? Me neither. Like, I actually have a thing. It's called Apocalypse Keys. Happens at like 3:00 on my channel. I think you'll be there. No, it's one thing that I have realized is that prep as much as you want, right? Like, if you set time for yourself to prep and then you don't end up getting to it that week, don't think of it as a negative of, oh man, like, I can't, like, we didn't get to this thing. That just means that you don't have to do as much prep next week when you actually do get to that place, so you save yourself some time. And that's something that I have always found very helpful, is that, like, if I sit down and I'm in a real groove and, like, I'm able to prep a shit ton, but I know the players won't get there. Okay. Like, maybe they'll get there the next week, in which case, like, I have a thing all ready and willing to go. So that way I can start working on other things that bring me joy. Like, I might not like, for example, like, I want to make characters. I want to focus on, like, buildings and structures and, like, the weird social economy that's there. Mm-hmm. If you're building out the weird social economy for a city that your players haven't gone to yet, they'll eventually get there, or maybe you'll get there in another game and you'll have that all on lock and you can focus the improv on things like character acting and other things like that can really shine and help bring out the best that the prep that you've already put down for something completely else has to offer. So if you make like a sea town that has all of these things, but your players get there and you're like, fuck, like I don't have a way to like get them to the points that I want to, the Dockmaster shows up and just, hello, my name is Tommy Dockmaster, and blah, blah, like you can like lay through it from there to try and help navigate them to those places, because you're afraid that they aren't going to get to the places. A MacGuffin is going to be your best friend.
Love a good MacGuffin.
We do love one whole MacGuffin. And that was TTRPG Confessional. I feel the weight off my chest.
I feel lighter.
All right. That brings us to the big boy. That brings us to our staple. If you have been in the TTRPG space long enough, you have probably had the displeasure of playing with a that guy. A that guy is a veritable black hole of fun at the table. Someone that if they were yeeted into the sun, your enjoyment would increase 100%. So, have you played with a that guy? Tell us about it.
Yeah. I have played with several that guys, and those are generally the only time that I play with that guy. The first example that I had was the very first time I ever played a World of Darkness campaign. Of course,
oh god,
and of course it's World of Darkness, right?
I'm sorry, they're kind of living in there.
All right, yeah, no. So we were playing Hunter the Vigil. And I think I might have even told you guys about this at a different time, but we were playing Hunter the Vigil, and during the game, I wanted to join Project Valkyrie and become Iron Man, basically. Like I wanted to get like the whole robot outfit, because like why not? That was super cool. That's what I wanted for my character. So I started off, and my character ends up breaking his leg. So I asked the GM, I'm like, I have enough experience points. Can I like get a robot leg? He's like, yeah, you can get a robot leg. So character ends up getting a robot leg, and then he's like, oh, but they messed up the surgery and you have gained a robotic eye as well. I'm like,
that's not even close to your leg.
That was my thing, was like, how did they like, oops, like slip on a banana and knife my eye out in the surgery center? Like what happened here? And he was just like, oh, it like, just don't worry about it. It'll be fine. I'm like, okay. And so the entire campaign then goes on where I want to be a support style character. The GM does not know how to play and design for support style characters. So he keeps giving my character updates and upgrades that make me more of a melee style character, that make me more combat oriented, whereas I didn't ever want that. The party then goes into a situation where we have to kill like a demon or something like that, and in the process my character dies. Cool, I'm here to roll with the punches. I'm not upset if my character dies. That just means I get to re-roll later. That's whatever. I'm totally fine doing that. The party, however, is just like, oh my god, we need him to come back to life. So they rip the spirit of the demon that they are fighting and put it into my character. We've been playing this game for several months at this point of time, and the GM describes all of the robot parts and stuff on my body melting off, and then he gives me new abilities that are all combat oriented. Completely rewriting any of the agency that I had for my character, and then gives me a flaw where the demon will sometimes speak through my character's mouth and say unsettling things, to the point where the party decided, you know what? He's being like a demon man, blah, blah, blah. And so the party geared up together to kill me. So as a player, the GM constructed the scenario where the party started by sawed-off shotgunning me in the back. And I had to sit at the table while all of my party members as players, sorry, I roll to hit. Sorry, it turned out this way. And the entire table just fucking swarmed on me. And I remember I just set my character sheet down and said, you know what? I don't think that the World of Darkness is for me. And I went out and I smoked a cigarette because I still smoked at the time and was just fucking pissed. And I swore off World of Darkness because I was like, what is the fucking point of this game? What was the point of everything that I just went through if the GM is going to subvert any sense of agency that I once held, and I don't have the trust of my party members to be like, maybe we could exorcise that demon that's inside of him instead of, let's just dome him.
They're hunters.
Yeah.
They know how to get rid of demons.
Yep.
That's kind of the whole point of the game.
You betcha. I did not play with that group again. So that is my first of the that guy stories. So again, that was all off stream, but that was like up until that point, I had played maybe like a few sessions of D&D 3.5. Like that was like my first real experience with TTRPGs, and I was so put off by it. I was like, I don't want to fucking do this again. And like there was like all like split universe. That is the moment where I stopped playing TTRPGs because it was such like a like drastic like what the fuck.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And so again, like now me,
your character ended up with a demon soul in the first place.
Nope, not my fault.
But it was the party's fault.
It was, yeah. And so that's why they were giving me the like, ooh, sorry, this had to happen. So that's my first of that guy story, is just having every bad thing that could go wrong basically go wrong in that party.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There were so many off ramps in that story. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, honestly, you were excited to roll a new character. Why would the GM just go, hey, they're putting a demon in your old character. Would you mind this being an NPC now? Yeah. There's just so many, like, and even that is still icky. Yeah. But it's like, it would have been better than, oh my god.
Yeah. So when
do you want this to happen,
happened,
or do you want to just roll up a new character? Because we can just say that it doesn't work.
That was never a conversation or an option that was presented.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, to say the least. The next former Twitch streamer, I haven't seen them in the space in like 4 years or something like that. Their name was Dammit Barry. Barry was a good friend of mine. We met in a one-shot, had a great time. Loved talking to that dude. But he could hold a grudge like nobody's business. So in the first campaign that I was running for him, it was Waterdeep Dragon Heist. He had a character. His character ended up dying. He was like, hey, like, can I come back? And I was like, yeah, you can come back. So bring his character back to life. He ends up dying a second time, and like we kind of work out, and then he dies a third time, and I'm like, all right, dude, like there's not really much I can do. And he's just like, oh, well, you killed me, and like targeting me as the GM, and I'm just like, you got a nat 1 on a stealth check to sneak in to Jarlaxle's ship where they had guns and were on alert for people sneaking into their ship. They crit you died. And like, we have to have some level of mortality at this table, because if you die and keep coming back for like the 5th time, there's no sense of danger. There's no sense of
right.
Like,
there's no
struggle.
Stakes.
There's no stakes. So like, what's the point of playing this game if you don't feel that there is a risk involved in you achieving a reward? So character dies, he comes back as a different character, and he is just like deciding at that point that he's going to start causing problems, until eventually he's just like, you know what, this isn't good for my mental health. I'm going to take a break. And we ended up finishing the campaign without him. Then he ends up wanting to God, what was it? What was the next course of action? Oh, when we were playing our Curse of Strahd game, he ended up playing a character that myself and RJ were both just like, I don't fucking know about this guy. like as he's back, because like we had like kind of a negative experience with him towards the end, but like, you know, we were still like in the same sphere. We were both smaller streamers at the time, so like, yeah, like you can come back. Maybe we just don't understand the Australian brusqueness that you have. Like maybe this like kind of shit talking is just like, maybe that's just like a very casual thing. This was very casual for him. And then yeah, as RJ points out, he torched RJ's dog, because that character then started lighting Vallaki on fire because they were secretly working for Strahd, and like specifically was just like, I am targeting the Ranger's familiar and shit like that, like actively going. So then like the last scene that he was there was myself and RJ's characters looking at each other, nodding, and just nat 20ing, like just fucking like destroying this kid. Bad time. And so you know, like it was one of those like, okay, you were the villain, you were disguising yourself being a villain, we get that, and we were both just like, I don't really know about...
Did he discuss that with the GM prior, or did he just decide?
The GM, well, like the GM was like, I'm gonna roll to see like what percentage of the town goes, right? Because the dog was like in the town, and so with the fire starting, but he like he was the source of the fire, and he like took full on like, oh no, I did that, it was me that did these things. And the entire time that he's there, he's just like, I don't hold a grudge, man. I'm not holding a grudge on anybody for anything. I'm not trying to do nothing, because of what had happened in our Waterdeep campaign. Because his character made poor choices and died, he started targeting my character and other characters that were there from the Waterdeep game in a different campaign. So he starts targeting us in the other campaign. Okay, so yeah, as RJ posted, it was him as a werewolf ranger and me as the barbarian, the holy man that I told you, just doing a double clothesline. We just fucking murdered his character. Just,
oh my god.
So then, and like still thinking like, okay, like Barry's getting like he's on thin fucking ice right now. Like, I understand you're being a villain. That was really shitty to do. I'm not really enjoying playing with you at this point in time. And then he asked like, hey, can I run like a spooky, scary one-shot?
Oh god.
Thing? And I was like, and like, again, I was like, I'm going to give him another chance, because like, you know, maybe again, like he's got shit going on in his life. Okay. Yeah. You can play it. And so he does this horror campaign, and it's fine. Nothing weird comes out. But it was the first time that I met my dear friend Satan at Alyssa Vamp on Twitter, where it was Barry, myself, and Satan sitting in this horror game, like lobby, basically waiting for it to start. And I was just like, yeah, it's like basically like, oh yeah, like something about like the fact that he's still holding a grudge from Waterdeep. And he's like, I don't hold grudges. And Satan, who I had never talked to before this, is just bull fucking shit. And she just like called him out immediately. And I was like, all right, you're cool. And Satan and I are still great friends multiple years later, because she like immediately was able to call Barry out on his bullshit for it. Loved that for them. So horror game goes by. And at the end, he's like, asks me, like, because he was looking up to me as like a storyteller, like, oh, how did you like it? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't really like the games where like we go through the horror, but then at the end, it was like we were all dead the whole time anyways. Like, I feel like that at the end kind of like removes the stakes that we had towards it. And he got very upset about that, and then like kind of stopped talking to me after that point in time. And
so he asked your critique if they didn't want your critique.
Exactly. He wanted my critique, but he wanted me to say that he did a good job rather than me tell him what I actively thought about it. Cut to Ghosts of Saltmarsh is starting. And he and I are both like, yeah. Like, we're both going to be running Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I go to ask my friend LB Hackemup, like, hey, do you want to, like, you're one of my go-to people. I've been wanting to play with you again. Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And she's like, oh, Barry actually asked me to be in his Ghosts of Saltmarsh game. I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. So I asked my friend Greybeard, like, Ghosts of Saltmarsh. She's like, oh, Barry actually asked me. The dude went through my regulars.
He poached your regulars.
And sniped them. Yeah, he poached my regulars before I started the show. And I was like, okay, dude. Okay, like, you can hold a grudge. That's fine.
but I'm not dealing with you anymore. Like, I'm fucking done. And then the best part is that, so he poached all my regulars, so I was forced, in heavy quotes, forced to play with other people that I had been wanting to play with, like my buddy Cyberwolf, our other friend Kylan. Yeah, he is a comic level villain. So I get Cyber, I get Kylan, I get one of my local friends who I used to work with in a game, and I get I get who would later become my fiance into this game. We have over 6,000 views on episode 1 on YouTube for our Saltmarsh game. He had like a congruent viewership of like 2 people on Twitch at a time.
It sounds like you have your very own Newman. Like, you remember Seinfeld? The fucking Newman just was doing everything he could to just be. This is some petty bitch behavior.
Yeah, and so that was the thing. Is like, but then. So I'm running Saltmarsh, and I'm having a great time, and I keep getting messages from my regulars being like, man, I really wish I was on yours. I really wish I had been able to play in yours instead of where I was at. Because, like, some of the people that he was playing with were present in the Waterdeep game where he was still holding a grudge for some of the shit that went down. So, of course, that grudge is going to come through to those players in that game several years later. And then this dude reaches out to me like 2 years ago. He's like, hey, I saw that you had a game on your Steam wishlist that's multiplayer. If you ever wanted to play it sometime, we could play together. Left on red. No fucking way. I'm not touching that again. I'm not dealing with it. Like, this is some pet fish behavior. Like, I'm like that is my that guy story, is having this dude that I was like, you know what, I'll give you another chance, proven wrong. Another chance, proven wrong. Third chance, proven wrong. No more chances.
I have to name that guy the nemesis. Like, you had yourself a nemesis.
And it's a weird thing to think about, that all I wanted to do was play TTRPGs with my friends, and suddenly I have a nemesis. Like a dude who's actively going out of his way to try and sabotage me. And I can't, like, verify if that was the case, but from their player experiences... Yeah, it was a Nemafish. Just like, I can't verify if that was the case. I can't verify if he was trying to like get me, you know, like in the haha gotcha, or like bring me down, but like I'm still here.
Doofenshmirtz level nemesis.
I too.
An adventurer? Indoor adventurer?
It's almost like I'm in the tri-state area or something.
Oh fuck!
Listen, yeah, so that's my that guy story. Is like, I didn't have just a that guy. I had a nemesis apparently.
Maybe you're not doing it right if you don't have at least one Nemafish, I guess.
No, it was this situation where, like, he was just like, you did this to me, like in the Batman Beyond, like, you killed my father. Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Like, you did this, like, you killed my character at a TTRPG table. And roll up another one. Do you want to keep
I'll
playing?
Be your nemesis.
Oh my god!
But then again, like, he reaches out and it's just like, "Hey, games, maybe." I'm just like, "Fucking no!"
Like, what really kills me is, like, in the first half, you were talking about, like, yeah, my signature GM move is like, I'll tell a great story and you'll love it, but I'm vicious. And then the bad guy is just like, someone experienced that and they couldn't handle.
Some people can't hang.
And then the wanting to play with you is just like, is this a friends to is this an enemies to lovers that they're trying to initiate?
The answer's no, dog.
Thank you, Sam. They can fish it, but they can't take it. They can fish it, but they can't tank it.
No, I got it.
No, I just added to it with tank, because fish tank. Yeah.
I like it. I think it's good. I'll give you thumbs up.
Thank you. Appreciate you. See, someone appreciates my puns. Sam likes my puns, even though Sam is now my nemesis.
Look, you can appreciate...
I'm just gonna say, look, having a nemesis is a wild experience, and I wouldn't wish that for anybody, especially when you're literally not doing anything wrong and somebody just decides, like, I don't like that fucking guy. Like,
that guy killed my fucking character in a feed-up game. I want his family dead.
No, like, the reason why he was like, can I come back for the last time was because he had just commissioned art. Like, he had just, like, paid money for an art piece of that character that then immediately died. And so, for me, like, sucks you paid money. Sucks you also didn't roll higher.
Like, what
you have a cleric in your party.
What kind of decisions was he making that got himself killed?
Well, Jarlaxle Bairn. Yeah, he tried to steal from one of the most powerful drow on the Sword Coast and expected to just get away with it.
Yeah, and then the jumping on the boat where they're all on alert with guns. Yeah,
like, not much you can do about that.
Sam mentioned it was the no take only throw meme, but it's no finding out, only fucking around.
That's kind of what it felt like. And so it was one of those things where I was like,
consequences, I don't know her.
Yeah, like, sucks. Or like they like got into like pulled weapons out in town and started like fighting, and it's like there are rules in Waterdeep where it's like, if players start doing this, the Crown Guard comes in X amount of time and will arrest them unless they pay a fine. And like that kind of thing. Like, the book is very clear, don't start trouble. And they were just like, what if we started the most trouble? And then they get arrested and they're like, why am I being sent to jail? I should just be able to get out. It's like, because
I thought this was America.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. Like, that's what it felt like with that dude. Like, it was wild. It is an experience unlike anything I've ever had, because generally I play, and like it was like kind of after that I was like, okay, like at the start, whenever we go in, I ask players, like, if I don't have like a know-how of who's going to be in the game, just like, hey, do you have any suggestions of people I should reach out to? Also, do you have anybody that you do not want to play with?
Do you, I have like me, have a Nemefish?
Like, that dude and I have not, again, played games in multiple years, but there are still players that come back and they're like, I don't, like, if that guy's there, I don't want to play. It's like, well, I haven't talked to him in like since pre-pandemic. But yeah, I will keep that in mind. He will not be here.
They wanted a cool moment at the expense of the game. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Sphinx always coming in with that hard-hitting line that just kind of sums it all up.
Ain't that the truth, though?
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to our very last section. And we haven't even like gotten onto your voice acting and all that good stuff. So
next one.
So that means we're going to bully you to come back.
Okay. Done.
He said it twice. That means it's definitely happening.
We gotta have our repeat offenders. Like, Sam is on the list for a repeat offender to come back, and you are also. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm talking with my hands a lot. Everyone. All right, here is the last section. This is the community spotlight. If there's anyone that has made you feel welcome in the space, someone that you feel should get more love than they're getting, or just folks that you think we should reach out to try and get on here, this is where you let their names be known.
I feel like this is going to be a recursive loop, because people that I would like to give a shout out to: Sarah at the Hype Goblin. She's a wonderful friend, excellent content creator, works so incredibly hard. Sir Heck / Sir Heckalot, wonderful, great, fantastic person. Makes games all the time on top of going to school for their master's program, and still has time to go to like 9 different games a week. Like, they're both those Sarahs are fucking like wild when it comes to the amount of effort that they put in. God, who else? Dear friend of the channel, Alyssa Vamp on Twitter /Satan. They do a lot of art. They're the GM over for They're the Hype Goblin Sunday morning game. Fantastic content creator. Love them. Just the sweetest bean of a human being. And then Dank Dungeons / Lex Mandrake. Dank Dungeons is a absolutely wonderful GM. They are a supplement creator. They believe in the OSR revival, and they love playing old, outdated games. Heck and I were in a game that we played with them that was the Ghostbusters tabletop RPG from 1983.
Wow.
And he ran it fantastically, like learned all of the stuff that he needed to run it. And I had a blast playing that game. So definitely check out Dank Dungeons. I know that they just created a not necessarily like a quick start guide, but imagine if you took all of the fluff and bloat out of D&D 5e and turned it into its own OSR based game. I believe they call it D&D 5b. And they sell it for like $5 on the DM's Guild. Definitely check out Dank Dungeons. And they do their own music as well, which is super cool.
Oh, that's so cool. I gotta reach out and see if they have their hands on the old Tales of the Crypt TTRPG. I don't know why, but I want to play that so bad.
Yeah.
I might have a PDF lying around here somewhere.
If you have it, man,
I'll share with you my library later. It'll of all of the TTRPGs I've purchased legally.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
The only way to acquire them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Legally.
Check the receipts. I own these. Yeah, so those are my community shout outs.
That wonderful. Well, again, Endor, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here. This is a 4-hour episode, and I enjoyed every second of it. But now we must move on because I have Star Citizen to play and
it's legal where I'm at.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
To do the weeds in your front yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
With a
I have
bomb.
to weed after this.
Yes, I too must weed. We're going to go and raid our friends at
let's go to Total Party Kiss. They are playing some Dungeons and Dragons. Though there is a little bit of a viewer discretion on that one. They do delve into some deeper topics on that specific stream, so just be wary. But yeah, we're going to head over that direction, everybody.
Wait, I have a question.
No, what's the question?
What's your question, sir?
Twitch.tv/Legends of Logomancy is where Sarah the Hype Goblin is doing Roll for Wishes, which is a charity event.
You know what?
Oh, let's
do
that
perfect.
instead.
Let's go there instead. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh, AJ, you're playing Spider-Man? I beat Spider-Man on Friday. So what happens at the end is, you see, when you and Miles are fighting Venom, what happens is
I
was hoping I could time it with the raid, but it didn't work.
No, it's fine. Okay, everybody, we'll talk to you later. Bye. And the ritual has
Miles
concluded.
and Venom kiss.
Miles and Venom, yes.
The ritual has concluded. Bye, everybody.